Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Ron Kath. I'm the Vice Chair of the South Washington County School Board. First, I want to welcome all of our parents that are with us this evening on this very special night tonight. We are going to be celebrating all of our gifted education, Continental Math, Language, and World Masters competition. As you can see in the room already, we have a number of awards that are going to be given out this evening. So thank you, parents. We know there's a lot of dedication behind the scenes to bring your child and your students before us to be able to pass out these awards. So it'll be a very special night this evening. I would like to call this meeting of the South Washington County School Board to order. We are hosting this meeting. This is Thursday, May 23rd. We are at the District Service Center in Cottage Grove, Minnesota. Our first item on our agenda this evening is our roll call. Dana, can I have the roll, please?
Pat Driscoll.
Present.
Heather Hirsch.
Present.
Michelle Whitty.
Here.
Katie Schwartz.
Here.
Sharon Van Leer.
Here.
Ron Kath.
Here.
Tracy Burdenda is absent. Hannah Poor.
Here.
Lindsey Strom. Here. Maya Mehra.
Here.
Please join me. 2.0 is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. With that, we're going to move into 3.0, and that's the approval of our agendas. Do I have a motion to approve our agenda this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Sharon, and I missed the second, was Pat. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion passes. As we get to move into 4.0, as I had mentioned at the beginning of our meeting as our district highlights, we have our gifted education, our Continental Math, Language, and World Masters competition. Colleen Redmond, our Young Scholars Curriculum Development and Gifted Education Specialist, will get it started this evening.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, Chair Brunette, members of the board, Superintendent Jacobus, and student members of the board. Laura Vogel and I are pleased and privileged to be a part of the special night for these students. In just a moment, they will be coming in, introducing themselves, receiving their awards, coming around to shake your hands, and at the end of each of the groups, we'll be taking a few quick moments for some proud family photos. So we'll go ahead and get started with our Continental Math League. Students in grades 2 through 8 participate in Continental Math League. District 833 students compete in 2 divisions, the difficult Euclidean and the even more challenging Pythagorean. Continental Math Leagues are comprised of 3 to 5 competitions during the school year. They are designed to improve student problem-solving capabilities, and students compete with other students all across the United States. These are the top scoring students in the Euclidean competition.
My name is Eliza Kubicek. I'm in 6th grade and I go to Oatman Middle School.
My name is Haley Quinn and I'm in 5th grade at Liberty Ridge Middle School.
And I think since we have so many students to get through, why don't we hold our applause, and when we get all the kids through each class, then we'll do applause for all of them, okay?
Congratulations, Haley.
My name is Ben Polson. I'm in 4th grade and I go to Hillside Elementary.
Congratulations, Ben.
My name is Adam Lang and I go to 3rd grade Gateway in Valley Crossing Elementary School. My name is Kyler Owen and I go to 3rd grade Gateway at Valley Crossing Elementary School.
My name is Tierney DeCare and I'm in 2nd grade at Bailey Elementary.
The next students are top in the Pythagorean division.
My name is Zuleika Dewan, and I'm in 8th grade at Woodbury Middle School.
Congratulations, Zuleika.
My name is Connor Hestwood, and I'm in 8th grade at Lake Middle School.
Congratulations, Connor.
My name's Darren Wilcox, and I'm in 8th grade at Lake Middle School.
My name is Nick Amos, and I'm a 7th grader at Lake Middle School.
My name's Aiden Stauffer and I'm a 6th grader at Lake Middle School.
My name's Ethan Liu, and I'm in 5th grade Gateway at Valley Crossing Elementary. My name's Daniel Song, and I'm in 5th grade at Valley Crossing Elementary.
Congratulations.
My name is Rohan Kurvila, and I am in 4th grade in Valley Crossing Elementary. Congratulations, Rowan.
My name is Alexander McDale, and I'm in 4th grade Gateway at Valley Crossing Elementary.
All right. So that is our Continental Math group. Go ahead and feel free to applaud.
Parents, take your time. We got, so take all your pictures. Everybody's good? All right, got a couple more. All right, let's give them one more round of applause.
All right, nice work, everybody. We're going to have you head right out through our doors. We can maneuver ourselves through the cameras, maybe.
You want them through
Yep.
here?
All right, we're going to move on to our Word Masters. Word Masters is a national contest for students in grades 3 through 8, which encourages vocabulary growth and verbal reasoning. The contest challenges students to complete analogies based on relationships among words they have learned. District 833 students compete in 2 divisions, the difficult blue and the even more challenging gold. These are our top scores in the blue division.
My name is Avery Helen. I'm in 8th grade and I go to Oatman Middle School.
Congratulations, Avery.
Hi, my name is Rohan Yilmanani. I'm in 6th grade and I go to Lake Middle School.
My name is Andrew Delacruz and I'm in 5th grade and I go to Liberty Ridge Elementary School.
My name is Katie Mask, and I'm in 4th grade at Royal Oaks Elementary School. My name is Sophia Dalton. I'm in 3rd grade at Royal Oaks Elementary.
These are our top scores in the gold division.
My name is Rachel Estfold, and I'm in 8th grade at Woodbury Middle School.
Rachel. Congratulations, Rachel.
My name is Juhei Song, and I'm a 7th grader at Lake Middle School.
My name is Quinlan Tolke, and I'm a 7th grader at Woodbury Middle School.
My name is Ejar Ivy Lin, and I'm a 6th grader at Lake Middle School. My name is Iris Mehra, and I'm a 5th grader at Valley Crossing Elementary.
I'm just going to point out that Iris had the individual highest honor. She earned 59 out of the 60 points.
My name is Rohan, and I'm in 4th grade at Valley Crossing Elementary.
My name is Jaden McDunn, and I'm in 3rd grade at Middleton Elementary.
All right, that is our Word Masters group. We'll give them a big round of applause.
Good pictures? All right, congratulations again.
Have our group head out. Thank you so much. And we will move on to our United States Academic Triathlon teams. The U.S. Academic Triathlon is a national extracurricular activity for 5th through 8th graders. Team members compete in 3 events at each of the 4 meets throughout the year. Teams who place first at the final meet are then eligible to compete in the state tournament. This year, District 833 fielded 51 teams, up from 41 last year. 24 5th grade teams, 11 6th grade teams, 16 combined teams of 7th and 8th graders, 255 students competed, and we had 79 adult coaches. 7 of our district teams went on to the state meet at Woodbury Middle School on April 6th. There were 3 meets occurring simultaneously. 6 of the teams placed in the top 3 at the state tournaments, and 1 team placed 5th. We are going to start with our Peach Meet team. These are the 5th place in the Peach Meet was earned by the team of 5th and 6th grade students from Pullman Elementary and Oatman Middle School. I'll let them introduce themselves.
My name's Iris Kotfis, and I was previous Oatman. Now I'm MSA.
My name is Chloe Ott, and I'm an Oatman student.
Congratulations.
My name is Riley Klinke, and I go to Pullman Elementary.
My name is Adrian Block, and I'm a 5th grader at Pullman Elementary.
My name is Kelly Klinke. I was one of the coaches of the team.
My name is Jan Krilla, and I'm also a co-coach of the team.
All right, so next we have our 3rd place in the Peach Meet was earned by a 6th grade team from Lake. No. All right. They're going to hang out there, and we'll get all the Peach meets up there. So this is the 3rd place in the Peach Meet, earned by a 6th grade team from Lake Middle School.
My name is Harini Rajan, and I'm a 6th grader at Lake Middle School.
Congratulations, Harini.
My name is Daniel Peterson, and I'm also a 6th grader at Lake Middle School.
My name is Rihanna Lee, and I'm also a 6th grader at Lake Middle School.
And I'm Tammy Butterick Peterson, and I'm one of the parent coaches. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, this is our 1st place in the Peach Meet, earned by a 5th grade team from Valley Crossing.
Hello, I am David. I'm a 5th grader at Valley Crossing.
I am Zachary Barnaby. I'm also a 5th grader at Valley Crossing.
I am Lucas Peak, and I am also a 5th grader at Valley Crossing.
I am Ethan Doran, and I'm also a 5th grader at Valley Crossing. I'm Daniel Song, and I'm also a 5th grader at Valley Crossing.
I'm Tammy Barnaby. I am not a Some people think I'm a 5th grader. I'm short.
All right, we got pictures. Here we. All right, we'll move on to our green meet. We have our 3rd place team in the green meet was earned by a 5th grade team from Nuevas Fronteras.
My name is Claire Morris. I am in 5th grade from Nuevas Fronteras Spanish Immersion.
Congratulations, Clara.
My name is Mehra Kanakirti, and I'm in 5th grade, Nuevas Fronteras.
My name is Addison Forshee. I am in 5th grade at Nuevas Fronteras Spanish Immersion.
My name is Elizabeth Skluzacek, and I'm in 5th grade at Nuevas Fronteras Spanish Immersion.
I know.
Our first place in the green meet was earned by a 6th grade team from Cottage Grove Middle School.
I'm Nathan Kinney, and I'm in 6th grade.
I'm Jason Fillmore, and I'm from CGMS, 6th grade.
I'm Sam Paulson, 6th grade, CGMS.
I'm Miles Kaiser, 6th grade, CGMS.
Hi, Jody Kinney, parent coach.
Helena Fillmore, assistant coach.
These are our 2 green meet teams, so we'll get a chance for some pictures. Another round of applause. All right, we're going to finish up the night with our yellow meet. In 3rd place was earned by an 8th grade team from combined schools of Lake and Woodbury Middle School.
Oh, forgot about that. I'm Elizabeth. I'm in 8th grade, and I'm from Lake.
I'm Pilar. I'm in 8th grade, and I go to Lake.
I'm Kelsey. I'm in 8th grade, and I go to Woodbury Middle School.
I'm Renee Jansen, and I'm their coach.
Great job.
Thank you for your service.
Thanks so much.
And our last team for tonight is our first place in the yellow meet, earned by a 7th grade team from Woodbury Middle School.
I'm Kate Westlake, and I'm in 7th grade at Woodbury Middle School.
I'm Ifan Zai, and I'm in 7th grade at Woodbury Middle School.
I'm Rita Lee, and I'm in 7th grade at Woodbury Middle School.
I'm Tomi Omiwade, and I'm in 7th grade at Woodbury Middle School.
And I'm Jeremy Westlake, and I'm the coach.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
For helping.
Little did our students know that helps the board to get ready for in 2 weeks. We'll be shaking hands to over 1,700 kids that'll be graduating this year. So thank you for all the work getting us ready for that event. But thank you all again. Congratulations. Thank you for it. All right. I'll give maybe the parents a quick minute if their folks are going to leave. You're more than welcome to stay to the meeting. But I know everybody has busy schedules. All right, well, we'll resume the meeting now. We're going to move into 5.0. That's our public comment this evening. At this time, individuals may speak to the school board on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. Tonight, we will make an exception to allow comments for the East Ridge High School wrestling program. The board will not respond or discuss your comments. Character abuse, personal attacks, or specific complaints or allegations identifying staff, students, or task force members will not be permitted. It is important to remember that due to the privacy rights of students, no names or any identification descriptors that would allow identification of a student can be used in your comments. Complaints or allegations against students or staff may be submitted to the superintendent in writing. The superintendent may be asked to prepare a response to your concerns. Our policy does allow for 3 minutes. I would ask the folks that have signed up this evening to come forward. We have 10 individuals that I've seen. They are all coming up to talk about Coach Everson. If some of the comments are redundant for the process of the board, we would ask if you can waive your time. This is a business meeting also, so we would respect that, but certainly give you the opportunity to speak before the board. So with that then, we'll start with Kate Savage. Please come before the board. Huh? Oh, the podium, apologize. And again, we do request 3 minutes.
I would like to say that I feel the decision that was made by the board is completely wrong. By removing Evo from the team, you have completely disbanded the team itself. There is talk amongst the team members that they will not return without Evo. There is talk amongst the school that perhaps there has been blocking of recruitment for our students to receive scholarships. And you removed the heart and the soul of the team. There was an incident at the state tournament that my son was involved in, and I will tell you that Coach Evo handled it the best possible way that he could. And I have seen my son just grow so much under his guidance. 9 years ago, my son had a medical crisis, which resulted in him having a kidney removed. He couldn't play sports until he was cleared about 18 months ago. He chose wrestling. And under Evo, he has flourished. And I am really disappointed in your decision to remove him from the board. He has done nothing but to support these students, despite everything that you claim you're not renewing his term for. And I'm really disappointed. Really disappointed. There's a board member present here tonight that told me that they didn't need one more problem with East Ridge because of just things that have happened with East Ridge. I feel because of some of the things that happened before state and then the state tournament and whatever else has happened, I feel like he is being thrown under the bus. I've seen the newscasts, I've seen the newspaper, and it really saddens me because he put blood, sweat, and tears into this team and all of these boys. And I'm not sure, after everything that's been said about him, that he will be able to coach again. And he sacrificed a lot to do what he did. He was the first coach in East Ridge history to get our team to state. And when we left here after the last meeting, my son was devastated. He was bawling in the car, worried about his coach, worried about his team, worried that he would ever even have the chance to make it to state again without Evo. I really hope that you would consider turning over not renewing his contract, because he is the heart and soul of the team. He really is. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person, Michael Brown.
I'm not sure I have 3 minutes of content, but I'll do my best. Bottom line, your decision to not renew the contract of Coach Everson is egregious, point blank period. It goes against your very mission statement. You can't ignite a passion for lifelong learning when you snuff out the very thing that ignites it. Wrestling is a sport that teaches lifelong skills and strengthens you mentally for adversity. Matt Everson did exactly that. And you not renewing his contract completely kills that. That's all I got.
The next person, Ryan, is it Willard? Willard?
So my name is Ryan Willert, and I'm the one of the things that was brought up against Matt was the idea that he pushed a pairing with New Life Academy. I'm the parent at New Life Academy that actually approached Matt on the subject. At no point in time did he bring it up to me or anybody else. I had reached out to a year ago. New Life had 4 kids in the elementary youth program at Eastridge, and so about a year ago at this time, I had reached out to our athletic director and our head of school and asked them, is there an opportunity to do some type of pairing for that sport with any of the local schools? Having kids in a small private school and having been a product of a small private school, pairing is a natural thing that happens to give kids the opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities. And so it just seemed natural that living in the district, that Eastridge would be who I would want that to happen with. So after getting the support of our AD, I had reached out to Matt, and Matt had said that he would be in full support of it. One of the things, if you're familiar with the wrestling community, is that it's really hard to get kids out for a sport that is as challenging. So you'll see over the years that the numbers have dwindled. And so to create the opportunity for more kids to participate in a sport that most of the people still in this room love and respect and know that the work ethic it takes to be successful, it seems like a great opportunity for my kids to continue to do it. So reached out to Matt. Matt thought it was in support of the idea. We had met with the previous athletic director at Eastridge for about a 45-minute meeting, probably would have been late April of last year. And at the time, he was fully support of exploring that as an opportunity. Obviously, there was turnover, things happened. And so as that happened, I backed off any pursuit that I wanted to do for that, just to give the new person coming in opportunity to get their feet wet. September, we turned around and had some email exchanges about why it would be important, why New Life would want to do something like that. I had made sure that it was well known that whether it was from New Life or to the district, if there was any financial obligations, I was going to take care of 100% of that at all times, as long as it created the opportunity for kids from New Life to participate in the athletics. A few email exchanges, and then it went cold. And then I had found out from our athletic director that it was no longer an opportunity or a feasible option, and decided that we were heading into the into the wrestling season, and we'd back off, or I would back off until this spring. And then I found out the decision, which I completely disagree with because I think Matt's a great person, to dismiss him happened. And as a outside parent who's not part of Eastridge, I think it's really important to reinstate Matt. I think he's a great person. I think he works hard. I think the kids really thrive and look up to him. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. The next person Joel Pittman.
Thank you. The Eastridge AD and principal are presenting a certain perspective, a certain view of events surrounding the situation that sheds very dark light on the character and reputation of not only Matt, but the entire Eastridge wrestling program. And it appears to have left many of us in the wrestling family very confused and baffled, and we have a lot of questions, a lot of why. So I'll just start with some whys. Why did our AD, why did the person who got put into the AD position, who had absolutely zero AD experience in her professional history?
Sir?
Yes.
When we talked about character abuse, to me that's crossing the line when we start talking about qualifications of a person when she was hired.
I'm sorry, did you say we can't talk about qualifications?
Or Mick, we
I
brought
thought you said, I'm assuming she's a very nice person. I'm just asking about
any kind of allegations against her or complaints against her by law must be brought either in writing or must be considered by the board in closed session. They may not be considered publicly. And so if there's a complaint as to her qualifications for the position, that may not be considered publicly. It's specifically prohibited underneath the open meeting law, which is Minnesota statute section 13D.05.
Okay.
So in other words, layman's, what I would say, if you do have any concerns about her qualifications, we would want that in writing brought to us.
Okay, thank you. So my first question is, would be why does the board go through the process they did, you know, to bring an athletic director on, not her specifically, but anyone, right? What is that process? What does that look like? And I would ask, you know, that hopefully you guys ask why and maybe relook at that process, how you bring admin on to a high school. I think your words at our April 25th board meeting, Mr. Kath, were probably the truest words spoken that night, right? If we can't trust our admin that we put in place, then we're putting the wrong people in place. And I give that a hearty amen. My next why question: why did it take the district several weeks to complete the enrollment of a transfer family into Eastridge last summer, last fall, when the office administrators at the district say that the enrollment process only takes a few days? Why once this transfer family were finally enrolled, did they remain ineligible to compete in any sport activities? Why was Matt, who was following the MSHSL guidelines regarding communication with this family, from the time that Matt was first informed by a couple of Eastridge wrestling parents of their desire to transfer, why did our AD tell Matt that after this family they were officially enrolled, that he could still not communicate with any member of this family, when high school coaches have full access to speak to any student enrolled in the school or living within the school zone of which they coach? Why was the first final decision of ineligibility made by our AD when the transfer students were already approved by the district and enrolled in the school? Why was this final decision made that they were ineligible when they were enrolled and walking the halls of the school? Next question: why even up to this point has there been no attempt by the school administration to meet with this transfer family during the process of the enrollment, during the process of deciding their eligibility? Why was there no effort to meet with them, talk with them, see that they moved, you know, check their toothbrushes, are they wet, you know, the things that, you know, most ADs do? Why, after being told by our AD that these transfer students would be ineligible, and the transfer family verbally responded to this by saying that they were going to appeal this decision, why did they receive just a couple days after a formal denial of their appeal that they haven't even submitted yet by the MSHSL? Why did they receive a denial on an appeal that they haven't even submitted yet
Mr. Pittman, I'm going to need you to wrap up your comments then.
Are we at 3 minutes?
We're almost at 5, so I'd be very patient. So
I want to thank you for that. Thank you. All right. I figured I'd give you as much as I can. All right. Bottom line appears to be that Matt, who has had a stellar 4 years previous to this year with regards to past ADs and principals, became a fighter and a supporter for this family. Once the boys were enrolled and attending classes, he became a fighter. The personality and character traits of Matt Everson began to show up in full force as he saw tremendous injustice that was being done to a family. And even more importantly to Matt were the injustices being cast upon these two kids who just wanted to be out of a dangerous, abusive wrestling program and move to a place where people care about each other, have their backs, and are coached by someone who is as compassionate for the kids, their well-being, as he is passionate about wrestling. So, a lot of questions. You know, there's more questions, but I would just ask that you guys ponder these questions. And
well, my ask is if you have them electronically, you can certainly send those to the board, and we can see all of your questions.
I sent them last month, so check your emails, give them a read. Thank you.
All right. The next person is Brandon Davis.
Good evening to all. So I'm Brandon Davis. I'm an executive at a large business in the St. Paul area, and I'm also the treasurer for the Raptor Takedown Club, and part of the board as a result of that. I know that the board has received a letter from the Raptor Takedown Club and reviewed that letter and signed. And it dawned on me that there was a point in there that we did miss with relationship to the point of, I believe it was called retaliation by denying youth access to the youth program. I'd like to point out that recently I went online to register my son for football and realized that on the website it identifies the requirement for any student to participate in East Ridge's youth football program must live within the East Ridge boundaries. So therefore I would say that there is a course of dealing on East Ridge website that indicates that if a person does not live within the boundaries, then that youth person is not allowed to participate in a sport within the East Ridge district. So therefore Matt's request or suggestion for those athletes to enroll within the program that they lived within is simply in compliance with the East Ridge website. In the world of business, there's a big statement that's often utilized, even in contracts, that perception is reality. Oftentimes one's perception becomes a reality, whether it is correct or whether it is delusional. In this case, there are many situations where I could see that the perception would lead one to believe that these allegations are true. However, this is a situation where, being involved in the program as much as I am, I can tell you that the allegations that have been put forth are that delusional reality and not necessarily fact or truth. And so therefore, I'm again saying that I believe that Matt is innocent of all allegations and should be reconsidered. I guess the last point that I would like to point out is really maybe two more things. The situation or the way this process works just appears to me that one is guilty until proven innocent, which in my mind just really goes against human rights standards and laws within the United States. Granted, this is not a criminal allegation, it's still an allegation, and therefore a decision was made prior to perhaps receiving all the facts from all the parties. I see as receiving facts perhaps from one or two persons, but definitely not both sides. And so I would ask yourselves to put yourselves in a position, if allegations were made toward you, if you would like to have the right to defend yourself before you were basically indicated that you were guilty. And the last thing I would like to say is that, the Raptor wrestling program is more than just a youth or high school or wrestling program. Wrestling in and of itself becomes kind of a family. Not being from here, sure you can hear within my voice, my family, my friendships that I have in this community are completely driven around athletics, completely driven around that. And the wrestling family that sits behind me here, those are my best friends in this area. As the treasurer for the Raptor Takedown Board, I will tell you that everybody sitting behind me are more than just parents of athletes. They're boosters for the program. And so I will tell you that the people that you see behind you are very much in support of the program and have been financially, et cetera, to help, bring in funds for this program. And to kind of reiterate the statement made earlier of you breaking up the family, if you will, you're going to lose a lot of financial support because there's going to be a lot of people that will no longer participate in the program. So that's all I have. Thank you.
The next person is William, is it Hones or Haynes? Hones?
So I'm currently a senior at Eastridge High School, and I want to talk about how Coach Everson, or how I'll refer to him as Evo, the rest of my little speech here, has affected the 3 years that I was on the wrestling program. So Evo, I consider one of the best role models I've had throughout high school, and that's not just as a coach. He's taught me a lot, and that's not just talking about wrestling moves or workout plans, anything like that. He taught me things like teamwork, hard work, and he's one of the reasons why I have such a good work ethic in general in anything I do, whether it be school, sports, anything. So my first year on the team, I was coming out of a jiu-jitsu background, nothing too great for wrestling, but he still cared deeply about me and a lot of other kids on the team. It would have been easy for him to have an individual program where he really focused on the couple good kids that were on the team, 2016 through 2017. However, he had goals of bringing this entire team to state. Each year that I was on the team, we broke one record. Next year, more. This year, finally made it to state, took 6th in state. Evo has received countless awards on his coaching ability, but if that doesn't already speak volumes to you, this should. I'm up here, I'm graduating this year. This really should have no effect on me, but I want to be able to come back next year and see all of my friends going to state again, placing higher than 6th. I want to see the individuals placing high in the individual tournaments. And more importantly, I want to see Coach Evo affecting more kids the way that he did me. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person, Colin Brown.
Hi. I was a senior last year, so that means I graduated already. I am a freshman at Iowa State University, and I believe that slander has been committed against Matt Everson. Lies have been spread about him on numerous occasions throughout this entire investigation. Everson must be reinstated as head coach. He has brought nothing but positivity to our wrestling team and has single-handedly transformed the team as a whole. Let's look into what really happened here. The decision by you, the school board, was forced and rushed. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Perry Rogatsky. Rogatsky, I apologize.
My name's Perry Rogatsky. I am a parent. I am a board member of the Raptor Takedown Club. My wife is the vice president of the Raptor Takedown Club. And I'm here to talk about Matt and a few other things. I was not able to be at the last meeting because I was out of town for work. I don't want to talk about me too much, but what I do want to say is I moved here 10 years ago to a program that was barely getting off the ground. It was in its first year. I've been the gardener and one of the curators of this gardener of team that have planted the seeds. I have 4 seeds of my own in this program, and I have run the youth program for several years and helped build and develop this program, not alone, in conjunction with some other very key people. I am the person that brought Matt Everson to this program, nobody else. Matt Everson was an assistant head coach with a clear path to be the head coach at a private, prestigious high school, Catholic high school in the metro area. I asked him to come over here, and this program was garbage. Came off the most embarrassing year after the previous most embarrassing year where we took 3 kids to sections and the team was the laughing stock of the state because our coach only brought 3 kids to the section tournament. The school didn't care, the coach didn't care, and he got whacked. We had 1 candidate apply to this school to be the wrestling coach. It was embarrassing. That person didn't work out. We had to beg Matt to come here to interview. Matt had offers to coach at some of the top places in the state, and I made him a promise and said, we have a great youth program, and I will keep this youth program here. I'll keep my kids here as long as you're here. And he said, all right. And there were several other parents that talked and met with him that agreed and pledged the same thing. So when we talk about building the program, I've been a huge part of that. Not the part, but a huge part of it, as is my family. There's been talk about the 2 students that wanted to transfer here last year, and the fact of all the things that were not done, which I know for a fact were not done by the AD, whatever, and the policies and how it went down. I can tell you right now, and I want you to look at me, they came here because of me. They didn't know Everson. That family was personal friends of mine that I spent summers with for the last 7 years. Our kids have been friends since they were in early elementary school. The father owns medical clinics, and they were opening clinics over here, and they left the school that they were at. For whatever reasons that has nothing to do with this, and they asked, gosh, it would be great if the boys could wrestle together. I said, maybe I'll move over to the east side of town. I just opened a Woodbury clinic, and I'm opening an Egan clinic. I said, God, that would be great, because the boys are great friends. And that was the impetus for the start of that. They came here because of me. In conjunction to another thing, they were talking about students that were eligibility and the things he had done with a student that trying to get him to come to this program. I can speak unequivocally that that is all false. You never read the texts. You never read a bunch of the stuff before you judged him, because I provided texts from the father of that family and the mother where I had gone to a daddy-daughter dance with the father and daughter, with mine, the night after they supposedly closed on their new home in Eastridge. And we sent them things that we said we would come and go to their housewarming party. And that was the second time they told us they moved into the district. You take people for their word. Whatever happened with that, that had nothing to do with them. Those kids were all in our program.
We have to make sure we're not discussing any families or students' parents in a manner in which could be identifying to them, and I'm concerned that we have crossed that line.
Well, then, Mr.
I've been careful to speak no names. I'm sorry.
Well, we've actually passed the...
All right, well then let me wrap up with this. I have 3 sons that wrestle and a daughter that wrestle. I know things have changed a lot in the future, and women wrestling is the fastest growing sport the last 12 years, year over year, in this country. I realize that maybe perhaps none of you, or maybe very few of you, have wrestled in your life. But the thing about wrestling that's beautiful is this: it's a pure sport. It was the first Olympic sport. If there's a challenge to be made, or someone's going to make the team or whatever, in the purity of the sport, the 2 people go into the circle and they have a challenge. And when it's resolved, one person comes out, and for that week, that's the person. In this case, it would be on varsity wrestling. That's the winner. And what I feel about this was, and respect about Matt, is Matt didn't have the list of allegations fully against him before he came here. He could have resigned, but he wanted to know what was going on because it wasn't provided. And when he came here, he never got a chance to not be not renewed. because you had all decided behind closed doors to go into the circle, not tell him the time of the fight, raise your own hands and say you're the winner on this topic. He never got a chance to fight, and we don't even get a chance to have him try to get renewed again, because you made a decision without letting him get in the circle. And that's wrong. That's all I got for you.
Yeah. Kelly Rotsky? Kelly Rotsky. Okay, yep, that's fine.
Thank you for your time tonight. This is my son Axel. Harry, my husband, just spoke. Axel, excuse me, I'm going to try not to get emotional here because this whole topic is not only infuriating, it's sad, and it makes me very angry. And so that comes out. You can see my son is upset. But he wanted to make a statement in regards to his feelings about Coach Everson. Do you want to read that? In his words, I like Matt Everson, or Coach Everson, because he's nice and caring. Yes, he's made some mistakes, but he's still a great person. He helps my siblings a lot, and he helps my teammates too. Once you get to know him, you'll understand how great of a person he is, and that he will do anything for the team and the wrestlers. He has helped so many people and changed so many lives. There's nothing in the world he wouldn't do for his team. He's raised this team from the very beginning, and taking him away will break his heart, and importantly, the wrestlers' hearts too. He's not just our coach, but he's our family. I also have a statement here from my daughter, who's actually at a softball game tonight, and she wrote, Everson, what do you think of when you hear that name? Based on the last meeting, which she attended, you probably think traitor, liar, disrespectful, or unworthy coach for this job. But what I think is a great coach who's inspiring, inclusive, great with kids, and a great role model. People shouldn't get fired because of mistakes. And she's referencing that because we read an article in the Southwest Bulletin from you, Mr. Jacobus, about giving people not only second chances, but third chances. So she's acknowledging that maybe some things didn't happen perfectly, but somebody shouldn't be fired for making mistakes. Obviously, no one's perfect, she said. I'm not even in high school wrestling room yet, and I know Matt is a great coach and a friend to many people. I know Matt has a golden heart, and he is the kind of person that will do the right thing, no matter if the right thing is wrong in your eyes. So please reconsider the fact that you are not renewing not only a great coach, but a great friend. So, and she's 11, and my son is 9, and you can see how much passion they have, not only for wrestling, but for Coach Everson. And I had some things here that I wanted to talk about, but it recaps some of the things that were already said. I also was part of a 14-page document that was sent to every single one of you board members that we have not received a response at all in regards to. And so that's where my frustration, not only with your decision, but with this process lies, okay? You made a decision last week based on one side of the story, and that's not fair. There's, like Brandon Davis said, there's many different perspectives, and it's very sad that a person would be judged so harshly so quickly, okay? I know, Ron, I give you recognition for your comment last board meeting in regards to it's important for you guys to support the administration. You've put them in that role. You want them to do their job good so that you guys can make the right decisions too. And I totally believe that, because as a Raptor Takedown Club varsity or vice president, I have to hold Matt and the other coaches in the program accountable too. And I need to put the right people in place and support their decisions. But I also know it's my responsibility to ask questions. And only one person on this board asked any questions at the last meeting. And I don't know how you can make a decision without asking more questions. And that's very, very frustrating to me. As a taxpayer in this community for the last 10 years, we pay for the salaries of the teachers, the administrations, the coaches, and things like that. I just find it very frustrating that you didn't do your due diligence in vetting the allegations that were made against the coach, okay? I want to recap too much that other people have said, but the process has to change, okay? And I would like you guys to take a good hard look at the process and make sure that you guys are doing your due diligence when it comes to situations like this. Ask questions, okay? The other part was, Ron, you had said in the meeting right before you guys made your decision and voted that it's not all about winning. We don't win at all costs. Not one of those 8 allegations that were presented to you had anything, not one thing to do about winning. It was all about the kids and what the right decisions were for those kids. The kids being eligible that came out of the district, the kids that wanted to come over from New Life Academy, the kids that made a mistake at the state tournament and how he handled that. Not one of those things had anything to do with winning. It was all about making the best decision for those kids to participate and build character in their sport and as people. And I'm a little disappointed that after whatever closed conversations you guys had and listening to the allegations, that was your takeaway from that. So that's all I have to share, but I would hope that you would please look at the 14-page document that was provided to you, listen to what the people had to say today, and possibly reconsider your decision, because I think it was the wrong one. And we all make mistakes. You guys can admit you made a mistake too in not renewing this contract. Thank you.
With that, Alex was the last one, and we give him a lot of thank you, courage, especially to our student athletes coming up and speaking. We know how nerve-wracking that can be. If anybody else would like to come before the board on this subject, if any other subject, this is an open forum outside of the wrestling program too. All right, not seeing any then, we will close our public comment and move into our next agenda item, which is our consent agenda item. Consent agenda items are considered routine and non-controversial by the school board and will be approved by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items, but prior to this meeting, board members have had the opportunity to review each of these items, request that any item be moved to an action item for individual consideration. That has not occurred this evening, so I would ask for a motion to approve our consent agenda items this evening.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Sharon, seconded by Katie. Prior to me calling the vote for these items, we do like to take the opportunity. One of the items within our consent agenda is the approval of our gifts and awards. And just want to thank all of the generous donors. This last month, we had $80,427 given to the district, which gives us a school year total now of $714,280. So those are monetary gifts that we can put a number to, but we also know there's countless hours of dedication and donation of time out there. And from the board level, we certainly want to appreciate all that work and monetary gifts. At the end of our school board meeting, we do run all those names of those people that actually gave. So if you do see, if it's a friend or family, please thank them if you see them out in the community for us. With that then, all those in favor of the approval of our consent agenda items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 7.0, that's a workshop item. That'll be an item for our June 6th meeting. So we can move into 8.0, which brings us into our information items. 8.1 this evening is our nutrition services budget. That'll be presented this evening by our Director of Nutritious Services, and that's Wendy Tracy. And team, and as she came up, the one thing I apologize to all the folks that came forward this evening, thank you from the board for sharing your comments in a very respectful and professional manner. We really do appreciate that, so thank you.
And I'm Bobby Jo Grumman's the assistant director, so I'll be beginning of the presentation, and Wendy will be doing the second half. So good evening, Chair Burnett, board members, Superintendent Jacobus, and student board representatives. I'd also like to introduce our newest member to our administrative team, Laura Searson. So she is our nutrition supervisor. So we'll give her a warm welcome. All right, so now on to the fun part with our budget. So we'll do a brief overview of what our programs are and what we administer here. So first I'll start off with the school breakfast program, which is offered in every single building that we have. We also want to highlight that the state is also chipping in again for another year of free kindergarten breakfast to all of our kinders. So that will continue. Then we also administer the National School Lunch Program, which we will continue to maintain the nutrition or the target 1 for sodium. So still doing low sodium items. We're not going backwards, but we're just making sure that it's not going too low. So because a lot of vendors and manufacturers haven't been keeping up with good products that tend to be lower sodium. Then also we are going with 50% grains on our menu. So what this means is that half of our items need to be whole grain. And again, we are not going backwards. So for the products that actually taste good, they're good quality, and they're whole grain, we will continue to do so. The next agenda or other program we administer is the summer food service program. So we've been running this for a while now, and it kind of shifts, depending on construction and what we have going on in our district. So this year we're going to have Park High School, which is going to be an open site. So what that means is we have community eligibility, or half of our student population is 50% free or reduced, and Park High School qualifies because of Crestview next door. So that will be an open site, and we will be running that from June 13th through August 23rd this summer. Newport is also an open site, so again 50% free or reduced, and we will do programming during the mix. So that will run from July 8th through August 1st. And then we have Red Rock Elementary, which is a closed program, and so we need 50% free or reduced with the kids who are enrolled in that program. So we will administer Red Rock as well. Then we have done CACFP, so Child and Adult Care Food Programs. So what this means is we've done after-school snacks for kids who are receiving enrichment at Crestview. And so that was from January through March this year, and it's our second year of doing this. And we have actually served about 100 kids each day, which is pretty great. And we hope to continue this programming into next year and years to come. And then we do catering as well. So we've done senior center events in the past. We also cater for Kids Club, so there's snacks every day through the school year, as well as summers. So we've really done a great job with partnering and providing meals to those kids during the summer and after school. Daddy-daughter dance, which is definitely a highlight of what we do. It's really fun to be there and be involved with such a fun activity. So we have continued to do that, and I believe it's our third year of partnering with Community Ed on that event. And then we are having an increase in our participation with carnivals, which is really fun, and it's great to pair up with PTOs and PTA members to make that happen. Next, we'll go into breakfast participation. So this last school year we've seen the largest growth in our breakfast participation. So as you can see, elementary age, we have a 2.3% increase. Middle school is up to 15.2, and high school is 18.2. So we can really attribute this to with the kindergarten kids. So they start off getting free breakfast, so it kind of goes upward from there. So once they eat breakfast for kindergarten, they're more likely to do it first grade, second grade, and onward. The other thing is more marketing. So we're trying to do a better job with that too, just ensuring people know that breakfast is available at all of our sites. And then lastly, It could be products or higher quality products are out there and kids actually are eating it and enjoy it, as well as other models. So for example, at Gray Cloud, we do grab and go cart in the kindergarten pod where the kids take the meals to their classroom. So we can attribute some of the success from each one of those things. Then we'll move on to lunch participation. So we've also seen an increase with lunch, which is unlike some of our neighbors, neighboring districts. So we are very, very proud of this and our achievements here. Elementary is kind of tough. We've had a 1% decrease, but it's very difficult to do really, really fun menus and different things because kids still love their chicken nuggets and chicken tenders and things. So if we go too fancy, they won't eat it. So we walk a fine line sometimes. But we've seen an increase in middle school and especially high school. So, which is great, and we're having more offerings and kids really enjoy it. And we really have to appreciate our youth advisory councils and the fact that they give us great advice, which also gives us more success. So listening to our customers is huge.
Okay. Bobby, do you know if that is across all three high schools, or is it?
It's amongst all three. Yep, we're seeing higher numbers at all three. And then a la carte sales, we'll just highlight that this has been pretty steady over the last few years. And a lot of it is because we don't have new options or new products out there that meet the standards of the Smart Snacks. So it's just kind of there. It's stagnant, which is okay because we're also seeing more kids doing the reimbursable meal or taking the reimbursable meal, as we see in the last graph. So this is okay with us, just stability, and we really just want kids to have our reimbursable meal. Then we'll move into the 2019-20 budget assumptions. So our goal for next year is to continue to increase breakfast participation by 5% and lunch by 1.5%. The other thing is a la carte revenue, just as I stated. We are okay with keeping it stable. Food costs will increase by 2.5%, we're factoring or estimating. Inflationary wage or salary increases, so again, with contract years and things, we will see salary increases. Increase in benefit expenditures, and then also our general fund chargebacks will be $862,231. And now it's Wendy's turn.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Wendy Tracy, the Director of Nutrition Services. I'm going to talk about specifics when it comes to the overall budget for 1920. So when looking at revenue, the slide that we have on the screen shows our overall revenue of this year, this current school year, compared to what we are proposing for next year. We are expecting an increase, like Bobby Joe said, in both breakfast as well as lunch. Now the slide's going to be a little deceiving because you can see for the upcoming school year we're showing a decrease in lunch revenue. The only reason for that dollar amount is due to our commodity intake. We receive money from the federal government based on every student meal that is served during this school year. What has happened is that this school year we had $620,000 in commodity revenue. That was due to a major carryover from the previous year. If they can't achieve what we've ordered, so let's say we've ordered truckloads of canned pears and they aren't able to grow those dollars will roll over, and that's what we saw during this current school year. Next school year we're only eligible for $508,000 in commodities. So we're actually expecting an increase in participation, but the overall revenue for the lunch category is showing just a slight decrease due to that factor. We're expecting an uptick in breakfast, about $30,000. Overall in lunch, about $90,000 increase in revenue. A la carte, like Bobby Joe has mentioned a couple times, we're expecting that to stay flat, which is just perfect with us. Summer, we do about $50,000 in revenue, and this is reimbursement from the federal government due to those opened and closed sites, as well as the other category kind of captures all of our catering dollars that we take in from Kids Club and other events. So we're looking at a total estimated revenue for the 1920 school year of approximately $9.7 million. When it comes to overall expenditures, we're expecting increases across the board in expenditures as well. When looking at salaries as well as benefits, these are contractual requirements, so we will be going up in those categories. Purchase services, these are things like repairs and maintenance to our equipment, laundry services. We'll go up slightly in those due to inflation. Food and supplies as well, and this is in line with inflation as well as the increase in participation. Equipment, we are showing an increase in equipment. This is a projection for a potential commercial kitchen that could possibly be going into the alternative high school. We are in the process of research, collecting research and hopefully costs associated with that to see if we can take their current kitchen situation, convert that into a commercial kitchen to service the students of that building. If this is possible, we have those dollars budgeted on our end for equipment purchases. If the board decides not to do that after we get all of our information, then obviously those dollar amounts will decrease. Other expenditures, that category are things like our licensing with the state and the Department of Health that we're required to have in all of our kitchens. And then the operational chargebacks, things that we pay back to the district for having these kitchens. So overall expenses, we're looking at a $9.8 million. So we're actually showing you a deficit spend budget, and I'll get into that a little bit more. The next slide is showing comparative revenue expenses for the last 5 years. Red line being revenue, blue line being expenses. We have had an increase in revenue for the past 5 years, and that has allowed us to put money into the overall fund balance. And so the next slide will give you the total fund balance that we're currently sitting on. Proposed and expected for this year is about a 14% fund balance that we are anticipating after the close of this school year. And we know that school board goal is right around 9-10% on the top end. So we are going to ask the school board to approve our deficit spend to slightly bring that down, knowing that we could make some adjustments to our budget if necessary to run a break-even budget or even possibly have more going into the fund balance. So with that deficit spend, we would be looking at a $1.27 million fund balance, or about 12.3 overall percent after the 19-20 school year. In the past, when we have talked to the school board about potential price increase for school lunch, one of the things that we have been required to look at is the overall revenue gap. What the revenue gap is, it takes all of the reimbursements from the federal and state government, and then we compare that to what those prices are for full pay families in conjunction with the reimbursement as well. So looking, if you were a free student, if you eat lunch with us from the government, we receive as a department $3.37. The reimbursement rate for a paid student is 37 cents, leaving the difference of $3. What we do next is we take a kind of a snapshot of a moment in time. We look at all of the meals that came in per particular month. We average those out to come up with an average meal price, and that, when we looked at this data, was $2.80, or a revenue gap of 20 cents. Historically, the federal government can require you to then increase what you are charging full pay families, because the goal is to not have free and reduced families supplementing the overall nutrition program. This year, we received a waiver from the federal government. Any school district that had a positive fund balance was able to apply for a waiver, which would mean then they were not required to raise school lunch prices for the next year, and that's what we have done. So in looking at our price comparison, this is this year's overall comparison with our neighboring districts. We tend to be a little bit towards the top, if not kind of in the middle range. In talking to the neighboring directors, it sounds like the majority of them are going to be raising prices anywhere between 5 and 10 cents. If they do so, and we maintain our prices, we'll wind up being pretty much in the middle of the pack, which I believe is where we want to be. Same thing at breakfast. This slide also shows breakfast comparisons. We tend to be a little bit more towards the top in what we charge for breakfast, but we do also provide protein at every breakfast, which is not a requirement per the federal standards. And so we choose to do that so the kids stay full before they're going on to their lunch session. So again, not asking for a price increase at breakfast as well would put us in the middle with our neighbors for overall cost for families of our district. So in looking at the overall financial summary, we are proposing a $9.73 million revenue budget, $9.83 million in expenses, for a deficit spend of about $100,000, again, which would put us in about the 12.3% for our overall fund balance, with zero price increase, which I think families will be happy about. be happy to take questions from the board.
Thanks, Tracy. Any questions from the board? One quick comment, though. This budget was brought before the Citizens Advisory Finance Committee, and they approved it, had a lot of good questions. They always do. So both Wendy and Bobby Joe answered a lot of those questions that came forward. In fact, that's why you saw some of the slides that got tweaked a little bit from what we have in our packet of seeing the comparables too. That was brought forward as an idea. So just wanted to let the board know that this also got vetted through that committee. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Hey, so can you remind me again how, like, a percent of our 18,400 students or a number that participate in our program? Do we
You know, participation is kind of a tricky number because the way that the state gauges it is simply off of a reimbursable meals. So it's anywhere between 50 to upwards of 90% depending upon the building. But that is if they only take the reimbursable meal. When we look at if students are taking things outside of it, the percentage is considerably higher. So we're at an average anywhere around 72% for meal participation, but when you factor it in, it goes higher with the other purchases.
Great.
And our goal is always, like Bobby Joe mentioned, we want students purchasing the complete meal versus a la carte sales, because then they're able to get items from our fresh fruit and vegetable bars.
So I've visited, we visited with the staff and students at the alternative high school, so I really want to support finding a way to bring that commercial kitchen there to our students to get them the hot meals they also deserve. So I really support, especially seeing you have the enviable fund balance that we don't have. In nutrition services, to me, that's the exact place to put, why you have a fund balance.
Absolutely.
When we identify a better way to serve students. So I just want to.
Yeah, we're moving along in that process. We actually met on Tuesday with an architect as well as the administrative team from the facilities department to see how we can move forward with not only will bring a commercial kitchen, but will allow for sustainability, growth, and potentially servicing other students of the district. We kind of call it maybe our special services kitchen. Pre-K students, potentially Next Step and Pathways could also be serviced out of that kitchen. So that's something that we're looking at and looking forward to hopefully presenting to the board in the near future.
That would be great. And lastly, I know I'm a broken record to many, but there's always different people listening, and I just can't think of, when I think of something that touches our students so directly, when I look at just all of the impact between eating nutritious food and growing up to be a healthy individual, I just applaud everything you've done to be able to listen to the students, change black beans to pinto beans so they'll eat beans. But to really, the contribution to change, to go to this, whole nutrition standard, looking at evidence, what do kids need, being able to do that in budget, and then watch participation grow is really enviable across the state. And I thank you for, and all our nutrition staff for, I've toured the kitchens and the massive vats of marinara and freezing them and all of that. It's just, it's very amazing and wonderful work you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We have 140 of the most outstanding professionals doing this job, and it's physical, hard, hot work. And we're successful because of them, and they care about the students. Hopefully you guys feel that when you're at Eastridge. They do. They care about the students. I had one cook manager who said, and she's a cook manager of an elementary school, she said, I'm mom because mom's not there. And she said, so I want the parents to know that there is a substitute mom with their kids, even if it's just for a little bit of time when they're at lunch. They take their jobs very seriously. They're concerned about food safety, and just ensuring that they get safe, quality food that students can enjoy in an atmosphere that's comfortable. So thank you.
And I just also, my comment, especially in the work that we've been doing with community education around hunger in our district, I think it's really positive to see the increases, especially in breakfast and lunch across the district. And I think that is in no small part to the work that your department is doing and the awareness that we're bringing. So I'm really happy to see that.
Thank you.
I guess I've been to lunch with my youngest, and it's good food. I don't mind it. I like to eat it. It's good. Which, you know, I mean, when adults, you have a lot of options. Yeah. And they brought the Fiestadas back, and I was there like day one. But do you think that, because there's a slight increase in elementary school, and then middle school is just a little, and then the high school is more. And I know as we grow, our palate changes and how we enjoy food and what we like. For me, I have an elementary kid that likes eating peppers and all that stuff. So I haven't had to make cold lunch at all this year. So thank you for that, because I don't like to make cold lunch. But a middle schooler that has not wanted to eat lunch almost all year, and then a high schooler who, again, enjoys lunch every day. So I kind of see, except for the elementary, I kind of see that differences. Are we trying to, I know we don't want to go away from the healthy choices that we have, but are we looking at different ways to make it? I know there's like a chicken now that looks like a smiley face, and I know there some of those, but are we exploring a few more options?
Actually, we put cheese tortellini on the menu for the elementary schools. And it just hit yesterday, right, gals? Yesterday, and they went crazy. Now, the problem that we face is usually the first time that we put something on, a lot of the kids are like, what's tortellini? They have to learn what that is, and so doing marketing around, try our new pasta. So we're trying different things. But yes, that's a brand new item. We served it with a new bread, a garlic knot instead of your traditional breadstick. Elementary is really where we struggle the most, because again, if we go too crazy, they won't eat it. But we don't want to stay too consistent to where it's not exciting either. And so we've done quite a bit of work with our menus, and that's going to be a focus for us again this summer, is looking at new products and how can we get the kids engaged and really listen to what it is that they're looking for. We ask for feedback constantly, and we know that people want, and students want, different options, but then when we ask for specifics, they struggle to get us that. So we're kind of bound by the products that are on the market, as well as what the masses will actually participate in. But yes, all the time. I was at a food show in Duluth 2 weeks ago, came back super excited about some Korean products, Indian products, of course, things that will probably, you know, again, it's more secondary palate, but we're constantly looking at not only that, but increasing options for gluten-free students, vegetarian options. We have a wild rice burger that we're going to look at. So we're constantly looking at new things that we could look at adding to the overall menus.
And I notice when I went, and it's like a theme day, the elementary kids seem to want to try stuff. I think there was like papaya or something one day, and kids that I have known for a few years that not try anything tried it because it was, you know, it was the theme day. And I know that those things take, but maybe when there's a new, like the tortellini, maybe have like an Italian something just to get the kids to want.
Yeah, one of the things that we're the most excited about Laura bringing on board is she's wonderful at marketing. And so she's kind of our marketing guru. So this summer our plan is to come up with a monthly marketing plan so that when managers come back to us in August, they will know the plan for the entire school year. And then we can dress accordingly, especially at the elementary. They love it when the kitchen staff dresses up, and it just gets some hype going in the kitchen. So hopefully the Vikings-Packer game will land on a different day other than winter break, because that's always a huge day. We turn the entire salad bar green, yellow, and purple. Just little things like that really go a long way. So Laura's going to help us expand that for this next school year.
And let parents know that they can show their kids pictures of what the food is going to look like.
Sure.
For my autistic son, that was like a game changer. So
yes,
I think if more parents know that that's an option on the app.
I have actually met with Shelley Schaefer a week ago, I do believe it was, and she's going to do a big push on our new school cafe and some of the different options that are available. You know, at first people just thought it was a payment system, but now we want people to know the menus are out there. They can figure out allergens and pictures, nutritionals, all of the information. So we've already met with communications so that they can push that in the back to school information as well.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Sorry. As we were talking about the elementary school students, I was wondering, I know traditionally our youth advisory boards, we bus them here and they give feedback, but I'm curious if elementary school is the focus, if what it would look like if we instead went to the elementary sites and brought a group of kids together instead of busing the same group of kids 3 or 4 times a year to a central location, looking at what that might be, because it also might help you understand maybe the populations of the schools, I'm guessing, are different.
Absolutely.
And some of the food intake
Yeah,
is different.
and I
too.
think if administration would be willing to do that, that's a fantastic idea, to get them in and get their feedback. One of the most exciting times that we had at Youth Advisory Council was doing a kitchen tour, and it was kind of a last-minute thing where there weren't any exciting products on the market, and we were punting, and they still talk about it this day. I had one student say, "How many microwaves do you have in the back of Park High School?" And I laughed, and I'm like, "There's 1,900 students. How many microwaves do you think we have?" And he goes, "Well, probably hundreds." I said, "We have one, and it's smaller than the one that you have at your house. We melt butter. Or margarine. That's the only thing we do in the microwave." They were just astounded to see the back of the house and how the whole production comes together to serve. I mean, it's an average of anywhere between 10,500, 10,600 meals a day that we serve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, just maybe a final comment. I think it's fair that we remember where you've taken this budget in a few short years, where when you inherited it, we had a deficit on our hands, and you've changed it to a surplus and kept pricing reasonable for families. So you should be applauded, Wendy, for your hard work and your team's work. So certainly appreciate all that hard work. As a board, this is an information item this evening. It'll come before us next meeting for approval then. So thanks again,
Yeah, thank you.
Wendy. Moving on now to 8.2, that's the opportunity to respond to reasons for non-renewal. That'll be Mr. Matt Everson.
Hello, and thank you all for coming and saying the kind words about me. Thank you, school board, for allowing me to speak tonight. This is very hard and very sad for me. My time at Eastridge has been one that I will never forget. The memories, mostly great, leave me speaking this message with a heavy heart. I think it's safe to say that most coaches don't end their coaching tenure like this. But make no mistake, I don't stand here today asking you to rescind your decision on my Eastridge coaching contract. I stand before you to reclaim my honor, my integrity, my character, and my good name. I'm here out of principle to speak truth to slander and defamation, because what happened to me as the head wrestling coach at Eastridge is wrong and should not happen to anyone. The truth is that pertinent details and the allegations against me were either omitted, misstated, mischaracterized, or frankly concocted to fit a narrative for a predetermined outcome. Tonight I will ask you to keep an open mind. I ask you to listen to my side of the story as I briefly go through these 8 allegations. You will hear me discuss 3 important questions. 1, who is Coach Everson? 2, how do the 8 reasons against renewing my coaching contract match up with the truth and the facts? And 3, what investigative action should the community demand from its school board to ensure the fundamental education rights of its students are fully protected and not violated during the process of school enrollment and sports participant eligibility determination? 1, who is Coach Everson? Well, I stand here today as a father, a husband, a member of the community, a community volunteer, a military war veteran, and a member of a 2-time national championship wrestling team at the University of Minnesota. I took over as head wrestling coach at Eastridge High School 5 years ago. My purpose was to shape the young hearts and young minds of our community's wrestlers, and I wanted to help them build character and instill integrity and honor in their lives, lessons that personally taught me to be successful in my life. Wrestling is a unique sport. It takes courage, willpower, dedication, discipline, and so many more traits to be successful on and off the mat. Contrary to what the allegations against me have said were my motivations, it was never win at all costs or win by breaking the rules. For me, it was about being part of a community. It was always about helping kids. It was about giving back to the community. These motivations were so important that my family bought a home in the Eastridge district where my children will one day be students to become part of this community. I didn't have to do this. I chose to do this. For the first 4 years of my time at Eastridge, my time here was amazing. I had an AD who was truly supportive, a true leader, an administrator that offered advice and guidance. He treated students, parents, and coaches with fairness, respect, and dignity. I saw firsthand that the job of the AD was not to dictate, but to help support and serve the coaches. A good AD helps coaches take away the background noise so they can focus on their coaching. During those first 4 years, I want to note, never once was I reprimanded, and never once were there any issues or conflicts between me and the administration. Fast forward to the 2018-2019 season. The administration from District 833 and the AD got up here last month and spoke regarding 8 reasons for my coaching contract. not to be renewed. I went from 0 reasons over 4 years, 2014 to 2018, to 8 reasons over just 1 year. I think the big question that needs to be answered is, what changed? Your conclusion might be that it was me who changed. But as you look at the community response, with the outpouring of letters and the number of people in the audience today, it looks as though the community is raising its collective voice. This brings me to question 2. How do the 8 reasons against renewing my contract match up with the truth and the facts? Before getting into all the allegations against me, I want to speak to an inciting incident that I believe sparked the cascade of these 8 allegations. To follow, this story is bullet point number 5 in the list of 8 allegations. A transfer family moved into the Eastridge School District in July 2018. The reason they transferred was due to having a poor experience at their sending school. The family alerted the MSHSL before making the move that the transfer was for cause. It was to escape an abusive bullying situation at their previous school. A police report and complaint with SafeSport was filed by one of the family's parents, and this triggered a mandatory reporting requirement to report an allegation of child abuse.
Chairman, we're discussing details, private educational data on children who would be identifiable to the community, and that cannot occur in an open session. Mr. Everson was given an opportunity, well, that cannot occur in an open session.
Okay, I'll move on. After completing the enrollment application with District 833 to attend Eastridge High School, it took nearly 3 weeks through mid-August before their boys would even be allowed to enroll. Strangely, as this process was going on before they were even enrolled, one of the District 833 assistant superintendents sent an email to the family denying their son's eligibility for varsity sports participation at Eastridge. Right out of the gates, this family's enrollment process at Eastridge was met with a level of delay and interference by our district that was simply unexplainable. To this day, neither the AD nor any administrator within the District 833 has ever sat down and met with the family, despite repeated requests from the family. Our administration simply made a decision to deny varsity sports eligibility to this family's 2 sons without ever doing any due diligence, including investigating the family's living conditions or even trying to understand the facts. Early on, even though I was frustrated and confused that a family who lived in the district was being denied eligibility, I remained hopeful that the process would take care of itself in a fair and proper manner. But that never happened. It was in November, after months of the family working through appeals, nearly 3 months after the original eligibility determination, when I finally started asking questions to other administrators outside of the district about the legitimacy of the determination. In these conversations, I learned more about the process of determining transfer eligibility. I learned that it is exclusively the job of the AD to investigate and decide. I also learned that any information regarding a transfer needs to be investigated, and that the varsity sports eligibility determination by the receiving school can be made at any time. When I spoke to our AD regarding these conversations, I was told to leave it alone, that it's at the lawyer level with the MSHSL, and there's nothing that can be done. On the evening of Monday, November 19th, I even had a conversation with our assistant superintendent. When I asked if we could do our due diligence, investigate this family's home to help determine eligibility, he replied, no, it's at the MSHSL, it's out of our hands. I even clarified, are you sure we can't do anything? And he replied, yes, there's nothing we can do. It was becoming apparent to me that my AD and administrators would not take control of the situation and do what is asked of them by the MSHSL to investigate these matters. It seemed to me that they were persecuting the new transfer family and depriving them of their rights for fairness. The messages I received between our administrators, in comparison to what I was learning from other ADs across the state, were becoming increasingly confusing and contradictory. Looking for clarifications, I went to the MSHSL. On November 20th, I first called MSHSL and left my phone number. Not trying to be anonymous as stated in the claims against me, but rather with the goal to receive a call back for me to get some straight answers. If I really wanted to be anonymous, I would not have left my phone number, which is directly linked to me. In fact, it is quickly linked to me in a quick Google search that shows the 2018 Minnesota USA Wrestling Annual Awards Banquet PDF. When the MSHSL office emailed me stating that information must go through the AD in our district, I felt both the Eastridge administration and the MSHSL were pointing the fingers at each other. So that evening, November 20th, Tuesday, I sent a very detailed email looking for clarification on the matter. In this email, I simply asked, quote, at this point, is it fair and reasonable to expect that with inspection of the family's primary residence in Cottage Grove, as well as an on-site inspection of their former residence in Maple Grove being uninhabited, that there could be determination by the school and or district that the above statements are correct and the family is satisfying the residency requirements for eligibility? Because no one else was doing it, I asked questions to ensure that our community students, these 2 boys, were being treated fairly and in accordance with the laws and the MSHSL bylaws. No one at this point had followed the investigation requirements of MSHSL bylaw 300.02 regarding eligibility, and it was plain no one was intending to do so. I was called insubordinate. I was reprimanded for going outside the chain of command, even though I followed the chain of command. 3 months passed while I waited for action. I ended up driving to the house and taking photographs. I relayed the residency affidavits. When my AD and school's administrators failed to protect the rights of these 2 boys, I went to the governing body, MSHSL. Had I not done so, I am not sure the family would have been able to wrestle this past season. Now here we are. I have been punished and persecuted for standing up for this family. But I stand strong that my only objective was to help these kids, promote the law, and ensure that the kids were treated fairly when the Eastridge administration failed to act. It was less than 24 hours after I sent this email when the MSHSL unilaterally overruled District 833 and the Eastridge administration by declaring the family eligible for varsity sports. On November 21st, I was called back in to speak with the administration. It was at the very end of the meeting, after frustrations were had by all, when I learned that the family was finally eligible. I'm not sure why it was at the end of the meeting. And it was in that meeting where our administration tried to take the credit. They did not reveal to me what I came later to find out, that the MSHSL had overruled the district and directly granted MSHSL varsity sports approval to the family. On December 7th, I was called back in to speak to the administration again, this time as a formal reprimand. They told me that we can put this all behind us and move on. They told me if I would sign the receipt of this reprimand document, then it's water under the bridge. Never once was it mentioned, per your question last week, that I was going to be fired, non-renewed, or let go as a coach. Now, after hearing this story, I want to keep in mind a few things as I go through the other 7 allegations much more quickly. The administration is against me at this point. They took it personal that I went to the MSHSL. Per their language and tone on the November 21st meeting, which is audio recorded, they were angry. And this set the table for retaliation, resulting in the misuse of information and facts, and what better for them at the expense of my character. Allegation 1. The allegation states that I committed insubordination by failing to comply with a directive not to contact a family that was seeking residency. The administration had spun this to make it appear that I was speaking to the family prior to their enrollment. This is simply not true. In the district's reprimand letter on December 7th, the AD states, quote, "The district has not discovered any direct evidence of a violation of MSHSL bylaw 308. Straight from the AD's. Bylaw 308 is language around undue solicitation of a student athlete. While I did speak with the family after they were enrolled, I did not speak to the family at any time prior to their enrollment. Allegation 2 and 4. Convincing a parent to move in and promising eligibility, removing kids from a youth program. The events of this allegation took place in late October and early November in 2018. Strangely enough, these allegations were not part of the reprimand letter I received on December 7th. If originally the administration had thought there was wrongdoing, then why was it not part of the reprimand letter? Furthermore, what the administration didn't make clear on April 25th was that this allegation has to do with a separate family than the transfer family from the West Metro, and that this family for several years was already part of the Eastridge Raptor wrestling program. As an 8th grader in 2017, their oldest son wrestled for a middle school program, and at the end of the season, Eastridge. All the while, the younger 2 children wrestled for the Eastridge youth program for several years. The family, on multiple occasions, misrepresented to me, as you've heard tonight, and others in the community, the truth regarding their living situation.
Chairman, we can have statements about parents, students, and particularly when they're identifiable to the community, and this family certainly would be at this point.
All right. Thank you, Mick.
Come September, the oldest son was enrolled and going to Eastridge. It was after learning their child was ineligible for reasons other than boundaries, they chose to go back to Woodbury High School where they came from. When the family made this decision on September 12th, I learned from the Eastridge AD that the family never actually lived in the Eastridge boundary. This was news to me. Instead, they used a purchase agreement, which ultimately allowed their child to be enrolled.
Chairman, we can't have discussion of data on students or parents in the district.
I guess, Mr. Everson, we have very strict laws we have to follow for the protection of families and students. And if we're going to continue to go down this path, I will ask you to end your comments today, right now. If you can please stay within the boundaries that we have identified through the legal process, we will allow you to continue.
Okay. I just want to make a side note. Back to the first transfer family one more time. This family, whom only had a purchase agreement and didn't live in the Eastridge boundaries, could enroll right away. He had a family that actually lived in the Eastridge boundaries, took 3 weeks just to get enrolled. Does that raise any red flags for you? 6 weeks after this family went back to the other school, I simply suggested to the father, due to all that had transpired, that it would be best if he sent his youngest kids to the same program in which their oldest child goes to school. My primary purpose for asking this was to clear up any confusion about what program the family identified with. My hope is that you can see the gray area here. Since the family identified with Eastridge on many levels for many years, but another one of their child was on the different school's team, I'm trying to limit it here. Where does the line for recruiting get drawn? My goal in asking the family to be part of the youth program of which they were aligned to was to alleviate the gray area. I wasn't seeking to have another child removed from another program, as the administration states. Furthermore, in allegation number 4, the AD claims that she told me, quote, "You cannot remove students from the youth program, and that community education events are for all families in the district." She goes on to state that, quote, "I ignored this information and the chain of command by attempting to circumvent the activities director's decision by contacting the youth activities coordinator. Let it be known that I have a voicemail directly from the AD that I'd be happy to share with you, where she stated, quote, "I don't have anything to do with the youth side of it, only when it involves high school." And later in the same message, she repeats, "Again, I don't have anything to do with the youth program." Her statements in this voicemail being true, how could I have circumvented her decision and chain of command when she admittingly had no say regarding the topic? Furthermore, it was in the same voicemail where our AD told me that the parent was upset, making allegations against me about recruiting. All these allegations false. Knowing these allegations were false, I provided our AD with over half dozen names, phone numbers, email addresses to investigate these claims. None of the names I provided were ever called or attempted to be contacted. A common theme from what you've heard tonight is that no investigation was done. Rather, the AD spun a story, told out of context with omissions and twisted versions of the truth. Allegation 3, New Life Academy Co-op. I think you heard from somebody earlier today about the real truth of what happened there. I was presented from a parent about this idea. It was never my idea, as the allegation states. But one thing I want to add to that, the criteria, per the allegation, the Eastridge AD states that on October 1st, she notified me in writing that the criteria for a cooperative sponsorship arrangement were not met. I want to state, the criteria my AD was using to make this decision was not in the Minnesota State High School League bylaws, but rather made up by the athletic director. Please refer to MSHSL Bylaw 403. In an email the Eastridge AD sent to both myself and the New Life Academy AD, she put forth the criteria she was using, none of which was actually a part of MSHSL Bylaw 403 Co-op. The AD's criteria had no factual basis. This was confirmed when even the New Life Academy AD stated in the same email thread he had never heard of this criterion. What's more is that I knew these criteria to be false. I had gone through the criteria with the previous AD who had approved to move forward with this co-op. When I showed the AD the Minnesota State High School Bylaw 403, instead of investigating, she used her power to tell me, "It's over. My decision has been made. Stop asking about it." That was when I emailed the Eastridge principal sharing my frustration with the AD, but I got no support. A few fast facts about that co-op. Eastridge had the fewest number of wrestlers than any program in our conference. Eastridge had forfeited 60-plus varsity matches the year prior. Eastridge could not field a quarter of a junior varsity wrestling team. Often during JV duels, we would only have 2 to 3 matches out of a possible of 14. This idea would also help grow a sport and provide opportunities for New Life Academy folks to participate in a great sport. I believe these to be the reasons why the co-op was originally approved, the same reasons that were ignored. Sorry, 6 is down here. Allegation 6, you violated a directive with a student athlete not in good standing. Honestly, this is completely false. I have no knowledge of any directive from the AD stating that any of my student athletes were not in good standing with ERHS or the Minnesota State High School League. I asked the administration to please prove this statement and show the board of any such directive. You won't find one. Allegation 7, inappropriate behavior at state. This allegation is mostly factual. Yes. 2 students made an inappropriate comment to a security guard. The incident happened late at night just before bed check. What was omitted on April 25th was that there was a punishment and a teaching moment for these students. We had these student athletes apologize to the third party as the third party explained the impact of their actions. The amount of remorse by both kids showed me that they were regretful, apologetic, and they even took accountability for their misbehavior. We had asked the third party what he thought would be a good punishment. We even telling him that we were willing to send these kids home. He stated, "No, these kids are young, they made a mistake, have fun at the state tournament, and learn from this." In the end, I didn't tell the Eastridge administration immediately. Not that I had no intentions in doing so, but due to the time of night and busy schedule the next morning, I decided to wait till the next day. And at that time, right or wrong, I felt I was making the best decision I knew how to make. Allegation 8, failed to adequately prepare for the banquet. This is simply not true, and I'm bewildered that this is even an allegation. I have never stated, ever, that the reason for not having the certificates at the banquet were the fault of the AD's office. I even went as far as talking to the managers at the banquet, apologizing to them for not having the certificates, admitting it was my fault. I have proof directly from the managers on what exactly was said. And finally, question 3. What investigative action should the community demand from its school board to ensure none of this happens again? As I stand here today, I'm happy to be able to tell our community the truth on what happened. I want to make it clear that I very much still care about this community and all the kids who are left in the program. I'm not leaving the community, and I really do want what's best for Eastridge Wrestling. I hope you find a coach that is passionate for these kids and this program as I still am. But families are moving out of the community, parents selling their homes, kids moving to nearby schools. The decision by the Eastridge administration has single-handedly stunted the growth of this program. When I look back, one of the hardest parts about everything, this could have been avoided. We could have had a common goal in mind, to help kids. We could have worked together. We could have met with families. We could have been better. But the administration chose another route. They chose to retaliate. They chose to limit investigations. They chose to tell lies about me. That's the real story here. And I hope you see that. In the beginning of the speech, I had asked you what changed. If I could sum it up in one sentence, it would sound something like this. We lost support by the administration and gained a superior who was unwilling to help our program, so much so that not a single action through the course of our school year was aimed at helping, collaborating, or serving, but rather aimed at denying opportunity and hindering program growth. I really hope this message resonates and you can see the bigger picture and problem here. Where does it end? That's all I asked for. And when does the investigation start on the Eastridge administration? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Everson. I just want to ask Mr. Waltzberger, please, order. Thank you. Just a question for our legal counsel, Mr. Waltzberger. Normally in this kind of setting, is it a question and answer, or is the board at liberty to?
It is not typically a question and answer type of situation. The board can make comments. On behalf of the administration, I am prepared to make a few comments as well. If you'd like to hear those first, or if you would like to proceed, it's up to you. Then the board is not obligated to take any action whatsoever. There's no action item on the agenda this evening for anything, and so you wouldn't have any, again, obligation to make any type of motion here. But if you'd like to make comments first, that's certainly your purview, or if you'd like me to respond first, I'd be happy to do so.
I think it would be appropriate to have you with the opening comments from administration, and then if we have any board members that would like to make a comment, I'll open it up at that point.
His opportunity is done. Oh, Mr. Everson can sit down if you'd like to.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Everson.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, good evening, members of the board. As you know, I'm legal counselor for the school board, or my firm serves as legal counselor for the school board. And there have been some attacks that have been made on Sarah Polatichek, and frankly, these attacks are unwarranted and inappropriate. Despite being an experienced educator, she did not act on her own in making decisions here. Throughout the process, she worked with the building administrator, Jim Smokovich, who is highly respected and experienced. And as matters progressed, Ms. Plotacek and Mr. Smokovich consulted with the Director of Human Resources. They also consulted with the Assistant Superintendent and with Dr. Jacobus as the district superintendent. And Dr. Jacobus, as you know, has decades of experience. And all of them, all 5 administrators, having personally reviewed the matter, came to the same conclusion, that non-renewal is appropriate. Before the matter was brought to you, the matter was sent to me for review and legal comment. And when I received it, I received 35 pages of documents supporting the allegations, confirming the validity of the allegations. Claims here that we've heard about being delusional, lies, slanders, they're frankly just directly contrary to the facts, including the documents. And I'd like to comment on some of the statements that Mr. Everson made because they themselves establish what the letter actually says. The gravamen of the problem here was a failure to comply with directives that he received. In the first issue, number 1, it states that he committed insubordination by failing to comply with the directive not to contact a family that was seeking to establish residency. The district activities director gave that directive for a number of reasons. Number 1, the State High School League doesn't like it because it raises concerns about whether you're trying to recruit in violation of the rules. Number 2, the whole matter was in legal process, and attorneys were handling it for the State High School League and the district at that time, trying to work the matter out. This claim that nobody followed the bylaws, that's absurd. It was going through the full legal channels as it's supposed to. There are channels that you're required to follow.
Sir, again, we have to keep order, again, so we can let our legal counsel present. Sir, well, I'm making a comment, public meeting, right? If I have to, we have to call order then. And I certainly do not want to clear the boardroom for him to make his comment. So, again, I would ask for your respect in this capacity.
And
ma'am, please, again, that in a public setting, we've had the public comment from all of the parents. We've listened to Mr. Everson, and now it's time for the board to speak, please.
In the final analysis, the issue was that he was directed not to contact the State High School League. He acknowledged in his comments here tonight that he did. In response, the State High School League sends an email saying, we do not communicate directly with coaches about eligibility issues, and it should be communicated to us through the activities director. Having been directed, and now having received that email, he persisted and turns around and sends another lengthy, detailed email advocating for the family on the issue. Now, while one might applaud his advocacy for a family, the bottom line is the district has the right to say when it's appropriate and when it's not to contact the league, and so does the league. They did that, and he did not comply with those directives here. In terms of the criteria, the AD obtained criteria from the State High School League for the cooperative sponsorship arrangement. They were criteria that were provided directly to her from the league. She applied them. Mr. Everson disagreed, which was fine, the initial respectful dialogue back and forth. But she goes through the issues, she consults with the assistant superintendent, and she makes a determination that we're not going to go forward. Also because the board had decided not to go forward with another private school earlier, and it would raise serious questions if now we start going forward with a different private school. So she says the matter has been decided, please respect the decision and move forward. But he chooses not to. And the implication or suggestion was, well, this is really wanted by the AD from the private school. Well, the email that I have in my possession from the AD, where the AD comes back and says, no, actually, this is not something that it's not something that matters to me or that I was pursuing. And so he was saying that he was not even disappointed not to proceed down the road of looking at a cooperative agreement. While it may be true that the AD does not control youth activities through community ed, the AD does have the right to direct coaches in her building what to do and what not to do with respect to community ed programs in terms of having kids removed, particularly when the timing of actions might suggest retaliation. And the comment was made earlier today that perception is reality. And the perception here by the family in question was very clearly one of retaliation that was occurring for events that had happened. The comment was made to you that Mr. Everson received a written reprimand and was told that, we can move forward from this. That we have to address this, but we can move forward. He used the phrase, I think, water under the bridge. And I do believe, frankly, things might have been possible to move forward. It may have been possible to move forward if there were no other issues, but there were. other issues. And as he acknowledged in his own words, he said mostly factual. It is factual what happened at the tournament. And those students should have never, that one student should have never been permitted to wrestle after that event occurred. And it should not be for a third party, such as a security guard, to say whether or not kids are eligible to wrestle. And the district should never learn from the state high school league, which learned from the hotel about the incident. Not the way it should work. To suggest the coach didn't have time when we received notice of it directly from the state high school league that received it from other parties. And I would tell you that the matter was so significant that there was a suggestion that this district could never stay at that hotel again. That's how significant the matter was.
No, please, ma'am, please. Order. I'm going to have to ask order, please. No, there's no more. No,
It is not a public forum. The public comment session is over. This is a section of a business meeting. It is not open to public comment.
Well, at this point, I'm going to have to call order and suspend the meeting until we can get order again. So at this point, I'd ask for a motion to suspend the meeting.
So moved. Second.
Second. All those in favor of suspending the meeting signify by saying aye. Aye. We'll take a recess until we can get order back in the boardroom. By saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So with that, Mr. Walsberger, please finish your comments.
The last comment I'd like to make is that there was some suggestion here that there was an effort to slander Mr. Everson, and certainly that is not the case. He had the opportunity to receive notice of the allegations, have the whole matter discussed in closed session, and privately receive notice of the allegations. He chose not to do that. He chose, in a very unusual kind of scenario, to have it publicly discussed, which is his right under the law, but that then forced the board to have the discussion in open session. I'm sure we don't like that any more than he does in terms of his reputation, but that's not something that we can control. It's something that's entirely within his decision-making authority and not ours. So, again, in the final analysis, I believe, having reviewed the materials myself, that the evidence strongly supports the reasons for non-renewal. And again, the administration, at least 5 separate administrators reviewed that as well. And I would just add as a final note, too, there seems to be some suggestion of rights to employment. And I would remind the board that coaches can be renewed for any reason or no reason at all, in the words of the courts. It's totally as the board sees fit. And so if the board has any concern at all, it's within its purview to do that. And I think that there's been more than adequate due diligence in this case in terms of vetting the concerns that were brought forward. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll open it up to any board member comments at this point.
Would this be an appropriate time to ask Mick questions about? I'll ask Mick. Is it an appropriate time to ask you questions?
You may be asking me a question depending on the nature of it.
Sure. If a district like ours is found in violation of Minnesota State High School League rules, what are the implications for our other activities or sports in participating?
It depends on the nature of the violation that that occurs. Sometimes it can result in forfeiture of games. Sometimes there can be penalties. Sometimes it's simply a censure that can be delivered. So it's entirely dependent on the nature of the violation. But we do try to strictly follow that, even as far as going through the hearing process, because if we're seen as trying to push those rules, that's when we really get in trouble.
And, sorry, I just have one more. And you spoke about the right to employment and how that doesn't apply the same way to coaches as it would to, say, one of our teachers or another employee in the district. There were lots of questions about the validity of an investigation. And so because the rights of employment don't apply in this situation, is there any information you can give about sort of what due diligence is required by law in a situation such as this?
Yeah. In truth, none is required. There's no investigation required because you could terminate a coach because you didn't like the style of shoes he's wearing, if that's what the board wanted to do. Now, of course, that's not what happened. Here we had, over a period of time, a number of issues that arose. You had a written letter of reprimand, and with the hope that that would kind of clear the slate and move us forward. And then we had a continuation of issues occurring after that. And I would add that these aren't simple mistakes. I mean, we make mistakes, and I do appreciate Dr. Jacobus's article about not only second chances, but third chances. But there are different types of things that we do. One is the inadvertent mistake, and I think kids, certainly that's part of the growing process. But when you choose not to follow a directive from your superior, that is insubordination. That's willful refusal to comply. And you may disagree with it, and you have a right to say, you know what, I don't like it, but you've got to comply. Because if we don't have that, we have no order in the workplace.
So as a board, it is ultimately, the decision to renew or not renew doesn't need to be based on an investigation, and the fact that we represent 27 buildings and almost 19,000 students who participate in a variety of Minnesota State High School League activities, our due diligence is to make sure that we are in good standing for all of those activities, all of those students, all of those programs, all of those families, all of those coaches, all of those students. And that the actions of a coach, while we may have disagreements, ultimately does not need to be proved one way or another based on what you're saying.
That's absolutely true.
Any other comments?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I wasn't able to be here for the last meeting, so I know we talked about due diligence on the part of the board, and just because we weren't here doesn't mean we weren't asking questions, reading the emails, and learning more about the situation. I wanted to say a couple of things. One, as Mick said, that again, personnel issues are usually made confidential because it does prevent a situation of, well, how was this email or how was that email? And it gives you a chance to deal, I think, real fairly in a situation. It's difficult in a public setting to have this kind of conversation. So that was, again, the choice, and I think that's, to have that in the open and the public, and that's great if that was the choice, but there are downsides to that decision as well. I want to say, as somebody on a personal level, Eastridge is very special to me. I led the bond referendum to build Eastridge. I was at everything about the starting of it. I was on the design committee and put my foot in the dirt when it was still a farmland. And my daughter was one of the first hockey players. I founded the girls' hockey team, booster team. So for those of you who are boosters, I get what you do and the value you play. And I understand what it means to have a family that is important to you. And of that magnitude, that school is about all the activities we do. And so I really get that, and I get that at Eastridge, and I get the pride. And I think the part that is so great is that family lives on, and family is never about one person. I get that it's very hard and confusing, and I don't think there's anything any of us could say that would convince you of any of the facts, because again, we have documents, you have documents. But I feel confident with the decision made for a variety of reasons. But I also want to say these are the kind, no one here wants this. We really value our coaches, that no one wants to go out of their way to not renew a coach. It's very rare for us to not renew a coach. At the same time, it's common across the state of Minnesota, and almost a million, public school students for coaches to not be renewed. But I think that the sense of family and belonging and commitment is what sport is about. Sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. And I remember how difficult it was when I had to learn that. I was a musical theater person, so I didn't understand anything about group sports when my kid was in hockey. But when at the end of the game and everyone had to come together at the end of the first tournament, we lost and shake the other person's hand. And that's another lesson we learn in life. Is that the gracious professionalism of sometimes things go our way and sometimes they don't. I don't want to minimize the situation for Mr. Everson to say that this is not a game. It's your personal life, it's your profession, and it means a lot to everybody here. But I do want to just say that without a doubt, and I have sat with these colleagues through many, many situations, many difficult and heart-wrenching situations, that we do listen, we do read the emails, we do ask good questions, and we care deeply about all of you kids who are here today and about the families. And we appreciate the effort you've taken to try to represent your point of view, to support your coach and to support each other. And I feel good that you do have a strong family that will, again, I'm sure, make the Eastridge wrestling team and Raptors proud. So that's my statement.
Anybody else? Just a final comment. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know. I am a parent of a wrestler. My son wrestled out of Park, so I understand what it was like to bring a team from little numbers to big numbers to Michelle's. But this has been hard on me too personally, because I have a passion for wrestling. I learned a lot about that sport. My son joined in, I think it was 8th grade, and I know when you start wrestling it's better to start when you're younger to learn that, but he learned the skill set and the camaraderie that those kids have. So I can appreciate you young men, what you do every day within that team. And when Eastridge was coming out of the ground, as Michelle said, I wanted my voice in that wrestling room. I wanted it done right, because we didn't have it right. We didn't have the right flooring. Park was on a gym floor, pulling mats in, pulling mats out every night, parents helping. I understand all that. But the one thing that came to me that made me approve this decision was that state wrestling tournament. I'm sorry. But that one for sure, to let those two young men wrestle was inappropriate. I'm sorry, but whether it's one or two, I'll apologize if it was one, but even one. At that point, that's where we need our coaches to not let that happen. And I'm sorry, but that's where I stand. And that was the one deciding event that led me to approve this and support this initiative. I like my colleague, Michelle, I hope the team does not fold. Again, having good competition, I hope we can put this behind us and grow from it. I've seen it happen with the football program. I've seen it with other programs. So there's no doubt in my mind it can be done, but we won't do that. It'll only be you. Hopefully we can turn the page and move on from there. So with that, then, we can end this information item, and we'll move into 8.3, and that's our information item on Schoology, and this will be a fun night for us from the standpoint of our student reps are going to get the opportunity to present to us this evening. And it'll be kicked off, I believe, by our Director of Professional Development and Accountability, Brian Boothe.
Evening, board chair, board members, Dr. Jacobus, student board reps. I'm honored to be kind of the kickoff for your presentation. We had an opportunity to chat a little bit a couple of weeks ago to go through the presentation and take a look at some of the information that they're going to share, and then we chatted earlier this evening as well. And what I'm most excited about is Dr. Jacobus often challenges us as cabinet members and people involved in our strategic plan is, are we seeing an impact in the classroom? Are the kids starting to notice our strategic plan? And I think what I hope comes from tonight's presentation from our student board reps is that something straight from our strategic plan is alive in their classrooms, and they're here to talk about it. And they didn't come to tout our plan, they came to talk about Schoology. And so part of our strategic plan is personalization, and one of the factors within that is a learning management system to help our teachers and our students and our parents and guardians share ownership of learning. And so I hope that you see that through their presentation. We are in the second year of Schoology at Park, at Woodbury High School, or I'm sorry, Woodbury Middle School, and at Oldman Middle School, and then we're in the first year of a pilot at the rest of our secondary schools. I will be available for questions as the presentation goes on. If you're curious from a staff perspective on training or support for our teachers and families, and so I'll be here. And also to help run the technology for them a little bit as well. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Lindsey Strom, Hannah Poor, and Mehra.
Hi, board members, board chair, Mr. Jacobus. I'm Mehra. I'm the Woodbury rep. I'm a junior.
I'm Hannah Poor. I'm the Eastridge rep.
And I'm Lindsey Strom, and I'm the Park rep.
And this is our Schoology presentation. Okay, what is Schoology? Schoology is an application or platform we use as students to view our grades and into the mic. Okay. Schoology is a platform that we as students use to view our grades, and students use to post grades, communicate with us, and share documents and assignments with us. And then parents can use it to view their students' grades as well.
This year was the first year that we switched to Schoology. Our second year at Park, so everyone at Park has become quite comfortable with it. We switched because Campus Portal didn't have the amenities that Schoology has, such as posting different assignments with feedback and everything like that. But we still use Campus as a way to look at our unofficial transcript, our locker number, our lunch pin, and a whole bunch of other things like that. Even like our health immunization records is on there. but Schoology does not have that, so we decided that Schoology would be one coherent application for all of the schools in our district to use.
So this is basically just like, as you can see, it's how it's formatted from a student standpoint. You can very easily see like the different courses, and so due to like, we have to keep students' information private, but if it were live, you would be able, on the left image, you would have been able to scroll down and see the other courses that I'm enrolled in, and then on the right side of the page, you can see different calendar agenda items within classes and different assignments and all sorts of things, and you can see your grade reports and resources, and it's a really cool thing because it's all in one place.
Get the video.
Okay, so this is a video that I made on how to turn in your assignments from Notability, which is an app on all of our iPads where you can take notes, you can record your teacher, you can do so many things with Notability, and I truly love it so much. I love that you can write in a whole bunch of different colors, and if you just swipe over, you can make a straight line. You can look at 2 different notes at once, and it's truly amazing. But this is a video about how you turn things into Schoology, and then I'll walk you through it. And this was made on iMovie. Okay, so first I started off by going into my Notability app. And for this sake, I'm going to be turning in a chemistry assignment on Schoology. So here you could see all my classes, and then I was able to hit what unit I was in and the note that I wanted. And there's all my work and all my writing and everything. And then I hit the little arrow box button, and then I'm going to hit other apps. I can choose whether I want to submit just one page, all the pages, if they're colored paper, if I wanted the recordings, which there was none, and then page margin, which really doesn't apply to this. And then I hit export. And then I can choose wherever I want to export. So I can email it to someone, or put it in my Google Drive, or any other applications, or print it. But I'm going to submit it to Schoology. So I click the Schoology button, and it takes me to Schoology. And there it says post. It says which assignment that I'm turning in, and I'll hit submit assignment, and then there's all my courses listed there, and I hit the chemistry one, and all my assignments that are able to be turned in are on this page here, and I click the one that I want to submit it to. I hit upload, and now it's uploading. It says upload complete, and then it also says your submission has been added, which is really nice. So then if I go into my course, under the unit that we were in, I can go and see exactly that I for sure turned it in by going into this. So that's all the information about whatever the assignment was. And then under submissions, it shows the exact thing that I was submitting. And then Schoology just shows like a different grading scale and everything. Right here, I'm going through the applications. You can see my different grades for what I had gotten. That's all in there, as well as you can see like if a teacher posts an update about whatever. My Spanish teacher has said like, hey, remember that this is going to we have to turn this in tomorrow. Or like just this past week, we had our IB testing. So she's like, hey, you guys will do great. I know that you guys will. I believe in you and everything. So updates are really fun as well to get.
So then, this next couple of slides is representative of a whole survey that we did at Eastridge Park and Woodbury. And I just want to preface this with, like Mr. Boothe said, that it's the first year at Eastridge, so there's obviously a really large learning curve that we're going to have to overcome, and so that teachers and parents and students understand how to use it better. But this first graph shows that parents, so 1 is, I also want to preface this with, 1 means it's not so great, and 10 means it's outstanding. So as you can see, parents don't understand, okay, this is all from the point of view of students, so students do not think that parents understand how to use their Schoology. But that will change as like parents know how to check campus because we've been using it for a really long period of time, and they will know how to use it in the upcoming years. But as you can see, some students' parents do know how to use it, and that's cool. And then this shows how to find assignments on Schoology and how easy it is, and it shows it's very easy to use. And I think that this speaks for how easy it is to find assignments, but also how easy it is to find classes and grades and basically all information on Schoology. And then this is how well it enhances their learning experience overall. And that just means whether it makes it easier or more difficult. And students clearly think that it does a very good job, especially since we're so technology oriented lately, that it's been, we got to use technology, so it's nice it's all in one place, it's all there, it's all online. And then this shows how teachers understand how to use it, and it's kind of all over the place, which speaks about the learning curve, and I think that that'll get better as we get more into the use of it. Okay, so the way the way this survey was administered at Woodbury was I had my principal send the link to social studies teachers, and so that's how I did get a substantial number of responses compared to them. And I do think that my data should be representative of the entire high school because it was throughout grades, so hopefully that remains true. First question is, again, how students think parents understand how to use Schoology. Again, same with Eastridge, we do see that leaning kind of towards the left of the graph where students don't believe that parents can use that. But we can see that it does remain kind of consistent as you do go higher. It's just at like the 8, 9, and 10. So it's just not excellent, but it is there. And so that will come with time. For how well the students think teachers understand how to use Schoology, we do see that this is more in the higher numbers, which is great. There is kind of the spike at 1, but that might just be like my teacher doesn't know how to use a computer. It might not just be Schoology. Yeah. And then how well do you think Schoology enhances your learning experience? We see that there are a lot of responses in the higher range, which is excellent. And then there, again, is that spike at 1, which shows that people have very strong opinions about Schoology, if that makes sense. Like they're either on one side or the other. And that, again, I believe has to do with just the learning curve, where people just don't want to, they just want to stick with what they've done. But the majority does like it. And then consistent with Eastridge again, we see this wonderful left skew where mostly everyone thinks assignments are very easy to find on Schoology. And so there's no really room for improvement in that regard.
Okay, so again, at Park, this is our second year using Schoology, so we're more, we're better at learning how to do that. And plus it's on the iPad, so it's totally different as well because we have iPads and the other 2 schools don't have iPads that they can take home with them and everything. But I administered this survey. During one of our student council blood drives, they had to come to the table to check in and everything. And I just said, like, I was at the table, I'm like, please take this survey. And I got a whole bunch of people to come in and take it, people that I didn't even know. So my first question was, we all chose the same questions again. How much do you like the use of Schoology? And you can see that at Park, everyone tends to really like it, and everyone seems to really like it. They might not like everything about it, but most of them are pretty confident that they do like it. Secondly, you can see that it is easy to find assignments on Schoology, just like as the video showed, that everything was right there in front of you and you didn't have to worry about scrolling through a whole list of things just to try to turn it in. On this one is totally different from the other two high schools. But again, it's our second year, so things are different. But the majority of students do say that teachers actually do understand how to use Schoology, how to post assignments and post grades and make comments on stuff. So that's really neat. I do love when my teachers give me like a comment if I get like a half a point off on something, like you had just labeled this wrong or something like that, or great job, keep up the hard work, or whatever. And then lastly, going with the other two high schools, students tend to think that parents don't understand how to use Schoology, but I'm sure that just as the parents have learned how to use Campus, that they will adapt and learn how to use Schoology just as well as they've used Campus in the past. I know that, at least for my family, my parents get emails at least once a day or once a week or however many times, and it just has a summary of my sister and I's different grades that have been submitted and how we've done at those as well.
Yeah. And then so some of the advantages for Schoology include, that it's just all in the same place, and so it's really nice that you don't have one teacher who's on this platform and another teacher who's on this platform. They're all in one place, and you know where you're looking for assignments and grades and stuff like that. And then it's also nice for parents that they don't have to go to a bunch of places as well. And then it also opens up that possibility of like a flex day or online course day, so that we can get out of these snow days and having issues with that. And then it also, like she was saying, it helps with feedback on grades, so it's not like you just got a D. It's you got a D because X, Y, and Z. And then it also helps with extracurriculars, which is something that my school has not experimented with a lot, but I know that they use at Park a ton. It's the groups function, where you can have a group and you can add students to it, and it's a really good way to communicate and just get information out to all students without being on certain social media or certain platforms and stuff like that. And then it's nice because you can use it on the internet, or you can use it as an app, so it's not like you just have to have the app or you just have to be on the internet. So it's very versatile and it's all over the place, which is really cool. Okay, things to be improved. Obviously, the learning curve that we've mentioned throughout this entire presentation, that just comes naturally with having something new for a year. I'm sure this will improve over time, but at present it is still an issue with people not knowing how to use the platform. And then with teachers not taking advantage of the platform or using all the advantages Hannah just talked about, teachers are still using other applications in addition to Schoology, and so it can cause confusion on where is this assignment, where do I know to look. People use Google Classroom is mainly its primary competitor. Also Moodle, things like that. And so that is also an issue where teachers are not using it in its intended way.
And just to add about what Hannah was talking about is the group function. So I have two groups under my Schoology account, one being student council, and then on groups, you can have like different admins. So since I'm on the board, I have admin. I'm able to admin everything. So we have everyone on the exec board admin. And then everyone who's on our group, we can send them an email or we can post those updates. It's the same thing as being enrolled in a course, but it's called a group. And you don't have to be a teacher to create a group. So I could create a group just if I wanted to. And then my other group is for the ACE Time tutors, so I'm not an admin for that. So, but again, we get updates all the time about like, hey, can you peer tutor here, here, and here today? And then kids will respond like, yeah, yes or no, or whatever. So, and then that is it. Thank you for listening. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions? Go ahead, Katie.
I have a question. Do you guys have trouble ever like getting an assignment to submit? And like, what do you do in that situation? Like, if you go home and there's an assignment due that night, and you can't submit it.
We never had that issue, but teachers are really lenient because there are a lot of like functional issues that we've dealt with Schoology. So teachers are really like, okay, you can't submit it, just email it to me, and we'll deal with that or share it with me. And teachers do a really good job of being flexible with that.
I haven't dealt with that issue either. A lot of my teachers still just like to hand in things like paper. And so the only assignments I really have to submit on Schoology are voice memos for orchestra class of me playing, and those work fine.
I have had that issue. I don't know if it's just like an iPad thing or whatever, but there are times where sometimes Notability won't export to Schoology. And I just kind of like reset my iPad or just turn it off, turn it back on, get rid of the apps, just swipe out of them. Usually it'll work by then. If not, then I'll email it to my teacher and just try to be proactive about my learning and getting that assignment turned in on time.
So does this give you guys more flexibility then, where you don't have to have an assignment done in class and but you could still submit it that day then, and it would still be?
No, I have teachers that are like, okay, they'll make the due date for the assignment like the time that the class ends, or like the end of the day at like 3:05 or whatever, and it adds pretty much no flexibility as far as when assignments are due. It just adds flexibility for what type of assignments they can have us submit.
A lot of my teachers put their due date at 11:59:59, so that gives me like, it's very lenient for me. I personally love it because if I'm not able to finish something in class because I'm helping another person or walking because my friend has been gone because of all this IB and AP testing, so I gotta help her get caught up as well as like focus on like things that I need to get done for the class. So I love it. My teachers do usually put things at 11:59:59.
Sounds nice. We don't have
It's that learning curve again. Yeah. We're just figuring
And so if I don't finish something and if I have to go to a sport or whatever, it's really easy that I can just like turn it in after everything, I'm all done, and then get it submitted by that time.
It does have that flexibility to do a number of things with when students' assignments are due, particularly if there's a student that's absent. But as Brian said, we're just rolling it out. We'll see another year, 2 years, all of the different things that can be done.
And I do have to say I like that because I have a 8th grader at Oatman right now that likes to turn in stuff at like 11:58. So it's nice to know that when she goes to Park next year that she doesn't have to change her habits there.
Yeah, and I think that it totally depends on your teacher too. I mean, some teachers are going to be more strict about their deadlines, but as long as you get it done by that day, I'm sure that they don't really care just as long as you turn it in.
Yeah, and as a parent, I like I'm one that actually knows how to use it. So I can, see grades and that
Does your
like
child
immediately.
know how to use it?
Oh yes, because
Because
she
clearly high
gets
school
the
students
phone
don't have a
taken
lot of
away
faith.
when the grades are not good. So yeah, she knows I can use it. But I do like the tool that I've seen it in her view, helping her with assignments, and then I've seen the parent view, and they both are very user friendly. They seem once you just get in there and look at it. It's not difficult. It's very easy and simple, and I like that. And I like that it may eventually give more flexibility, but I like the idea of those kids that may not get it done right at the end of the class period, that maybe they can still submit it that day, even if the teacher they still are able to get it done and submit it. But I really have enjoyed it as a parent and seen what it can do for the students as well.
I just wanted to say thank you, guys. You did a great job presenting, very thorough. I didn't have any questions, so yeah, you did a nice job. Thank you very much.
And you're using a lot of data, so Mr. Booth's job is all about data. So it's great that you gave him some data that, shows right there that after 1 year of use, they showed you after 1 year of use, the second year is much easier. So you actually proved a hypothesis tonight.
I was going to say, I'm going to bring them back to do all my MCA presentations from now on.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other
Nice work.
questions?
Thank you. It was great.
No, very nice job, thanks. All right, our last information item this evening is 8.4. That's a negotiations update, and that'll be presented by one of our school board members, Heather Hirsch.
Yes, I have the negotiations update for this evening. The negotiation committee members from District 833 and UTSWC met for the 5th time on May 13th. Negotiations between both committees are progressing positively with an open dialogue and collaboration. District 833 and UTSWC currently have 27 tentative agreements between both parties. Most of the tentative agreements center on updated dates, language, or changes in statute and law. There are also several memorandums of agreement that were renewed, were agreed upon renewing, as well as a few that were agreed upon deleting due to the completion of the subject involved. Several of the items that we continue to discuss at negotiations and future meetings include emergency closings, so working towards an agreement around language on emergency closing options, as well as adding e-learning options, time and teacher workload, addressing a proposal as it relates to the number of meetings teachers are required to attend each month in addition to their teaching day, unrequested leave of absence, or ULA, so working towards a memorandum of agreement around ULA, which may happen because of a discontinuance of a position at the end of the school year. Transfer language, working towards an agreement around existing language regarding educational needs transfer and realignment. The salary schedule, working towards an agreement regarding changes to the salary schedules in order to encourage teachers to pursue further education and increase their compensation. And it was agreed by both parties that negotiations would initially focus on language changes, followed by budget discussions once the state has approved funding levels. The next time members from both committees will meet is on May 28th. An update on that meeting will be reported at the June 6th board meeting and shared on the district website at sowashco.org. And I did want to point out that we do have updated information on our webpage related to negotiations, and you can find those on the school board page. If you are interested, for those of you not in the audience but possibly listening online, you can find lots of information there. And I will say, being part of negotiations for the first time, I would agree with that statement at the beginning that they have been progressing positively with open dialogue and collaboration, and certainly have learned a lot from the teachers and the other board members that have been participating in that process.
Awesome, thank you, Heather. Any questions for Heather?
Thank you.
No? Okay, thanks. And then, with that, we can move, that's the end of our information items. We can move into 9.1. We have one discussion item this evening, and that's 9.1. That's flexible learning proposal. Our Director of Teaching and Learning Services, Kelly Jansen, is going to present that this evening.
All right. Good evening, Board Chair Burnett, Vice Chair Kath, and Superintendent Jacobus, board members and student board members. So last board meeting, we spoke a little bit about the legislation that was amended to read that you could count inclement weather days as e-learning days, and so they would be counted as a student day. So the guidance that was laid out with that legislation included that school districts need to consult with the teacher's representative and come up with a plan that could be used in the event of inclement weather. And so pending board approval and an agreed upon teacher contract, the plan may be used in the event of school closure due to inclement weather in the 1920 school year. At the end, I'll give you a little bit of a timeline. So the group defined 4 parts of our plan. We wanted to make sure people understood what e-learning was, what the teacher expectations were, and the student and parent expectations. And both of those are very general language right now. And then what are some directive regarding accommodations, since that was very explicitly stated in the legislation. So an e-learning day means a school day where we can offer full instruction by the student's teacher online or in another manner that has been decided upon. You may use up to 5 of those in a day or in a year, and it is counted as an instruction included in the hours of instruction. And so those actions that you've taken from the governor this year wouldn't come into play if we were using e-learning days. One thing that I know Dr. Jacobus has talked a lot about is that he may use this. This isn't something that is an automatic in the event of inclement weather. So this is something that you may use up to 5 times. The goal of utilizing that e-learning day is to minimize the disruption to the academic progress caused with the emergency closures. So the Department of Ed has been clear that it needs to be in-time instruction, so something that's relevant and happening in the classroom for those students. As far as teacher expectations go, in preparation, so prior to those e-learning days, the teacher notifies the students and parents with their mode of communication. For example, on an e-learning day, I will post all of my assignments on Schoology, or I will email your parents, or I will email you. So the teacher will have those conversations with their classes. We also put down that we would like that teacher to anticipate the time requirements, recognizing that students learn at different paces, especially in the independent setting, and especially our secondary students who have 6 classes, and if every teacher planned at least an hour of instruction and then additional work, that would be even more than an expected school day. So just keep that in mind as you post assignments. Customize those learning opportunities. We talked a little bit about that with the focus on supporting troubled students for students with digital challenges. While it is called e-learning, that doesn't assume electronic always. There needs to be other ways that we communicate with families. Provide a timely plan, posting work for the day by 10 a.m. So that morning part of their work day would be used to prep that material and make sure it's relevant and get it online by 10 a.m. The teachers also asked to make sure that throughout the day they're checking Schoology, Seesaw, and or email so that they're keeping up with students' questions. They will be reporting attendance through the school identified procedures, and they need to be accessible by telephone and online during regular school hours. And this was a great timing to have this conversation as you've heard, Bob is refreshing the phones this summer. And so the capability in that the system he's looking at, that a teacher's computer will become their phone extension. So when they're at home, they will have access to their school number, so it won't be a personal number that they're using to communicate with students. For student and parent expectations, the district needs to provide at least 2 hours notice, but as we've talked about, that's not a problem. Shelley and Dr. Jacobus are up mighty early on those days. And so an automated phone call will declare if that closing day is an e-learning day, or if it's just a closing day or whatever other language is decided upon, but we'll be clear in the message if it's an e-learning day or not. Students and parents are expected to check the identified mode of communication. That's where that declaration comes in the beginning of the year. This is how I will communicate with you in the event of e-learning. We're hoping that students and parents feel like they will communicate with teachers during the day if they have questions or need guidance. And we also wanted them to understand that we do know that they have a wide variety of responsibilities. An older sibling may be taking care of younger siblings. And our teachers will be, you've heard it a little bit in last presentation, our teachers will be very flexible and empathetic towards those situations. And so we just wanted some type of statement in there that please work with your teachers on these e-learning days. As we mentioned, part of the legislation is accommodations. And so students with disabilities as required through their IEP or 504 will need to have some really intentional conversations in the fall about how does an e-learning day work for them and what types of accommodations need to happen and who will be the main contact. Is it the case manager? Is it the teacher? And so having those conversations right away in the fall. And then we have to make sure that students and parents without home internet access or with limited internet access and teachers are talking back and forth so that there's a different way that they can communicate other than internet on those days. To write this, we use the Minnesota statute language. Some of it is directly from there. And then we also used a lot of the FAQ from the MD memorandum that came out last March. And our next steps with this process, so we are here tonight as a discussion item. We are asking you to act in June on this proposal. And then in the fall, we will work with administrators on the procedures. So they'll be working with the teachers at their schools because it'll look very different at our elementary schools, at our middle schools, and at our high schools. And so teachers will be working with their administrators in the fall for that. And also part of the legislation is we need to notify parents and students within the first month of the school if we're going to utilize this option during the year. So that communication will happen in the fall as well. I don't think anyone's thinking about snow days right now, but maybe, who knows?
I am.
So that is it. It's been a great process. We've had some wonderful participation from the teachers group and that we're here. There's a PDF of the actual plan in the board packet, but for tonight I put the pieces of it in the presentation.
And I would tell you, just before you start asking questions, the e-learning piece, because it is in statute, I think of it as extended learning. We're extending the learning outside of school, and I think that helps if we utilize that kind of thinking for parents. And that we do plan on, if you do approve this, using it the first time we close. But then we're going to reevaluate. How'd it go? Where do we have to improve? What were any of the issues we had? And I don't anticipate every single time we close, because there will be times where it's good for people to, it was an unexpected day. There's other things that need to get done when folks don't have their the same duties, and same for kids.
Awesome. Well, again, discussion item, questions, comments?
You talked about earlier in one of your early slides, beginning or using this in the 1920 school year. Is that just we'll begin to use it, or is it like considered like a pilot year?
So it'll be an option if everything goes well, and as far as contract settlement and approval. But it'll be an option for Dr. Jacobus, but like he said, that we'll reevaluate after that first time to see if it was a valuable learning day. So it'll always be an option, but I think it'll always be up to Dr. Jacobus if he uses them or not.
Because I did not think I had enough decisions to make in the morning, and so this is another good one.
My question was just, was it developed as a pilot policy, or was it developed as, this is kind of how we think it's going to go, obviously, if things come up or change? I just wanted to understand that. Yeah. And certainly, if we can come up with more things for you to think about.
I'm hoping we have this in place now going forward, because I'm not sure how our winter weather is going to look in the future, and this gives us great flexibility not to get into the issue with hours and all of the other issues, and keeps learning moving. I do like the push that it has to be on time or real time. We can't develop a worksheet at the beginning of the year to use in November. It's got to keep up with the lessons, so we can really keep learning moving. It's just going to take some practice.
Do we anticipate that IEPs will need to be changed and updated as this process? Because I mean, going through an IEP process, they're lengthy and they're time consuming, and is this going to add to it with having to change anything?
It doesn't have to be an IEP change, but because it does even mention in there communication via email. Like on a snow day or on an e-learning day, this is how I want my son or daughter to have their learning experiences. So it doesn't have to be in the IEP. It just has to make sure that team says this is what's best for that child. And really, every child is going to be that way, because even those that like don't have internet access have to have a different mode of communication than those that do have internet access. So, yep.
Other questions, comments? No? All right, well, thanks. We'll bring it back next meeting. With that ends our discussion items. We can move into action items this evening. Our first action item is 10.1. That's the approval of the revised 2018-2019 budget. That'll be presented by our Director of Finance, Dan Pyan.
Good evening, school board members, Dr. Jacobus, and student school board members. Tonight, I need to ask for you to approve the 2018-19 revised budget. School districts revise their budgets annually after student counts, state and federal allocations, labor expenses are better known than when the preliminary budget was compiled in June of last year. I presented this budget to you on April 25th. We have not made any changes to it since then. As you know, this is the revised budget for this current year. And we will be presenting at the next meeting the preliminary budget for 1920. In the general fund, the total revenues are about almost $240 million, and the expenditures are about $239,250,000, leaving us with a fund balance of about $9.2 million. Most of our revenue, obviously, is somewhat dependent on enrollment. We did adjust the enrollment projection to 18,519. It looks to be, with about 9 days to go, as the enrollment is calculated basically on a daily basis, depending on when people are enrolled. Right now, it looks to be about 18,517. So we're real close to what the revised budget looks like. It is a drop from what we originally thought. We have to admit that. And the other thing that we need to bear in mind too is enrollment actually is going down from the year before. And next year's probably projected to go down again, about 100 students. So just keep an eye on that. I do have to give board member Michelle a gold star tonight when she said enrollment. She said 18,400, so she must be paying attention to know what our enrollment is. And if you ever want to know what it is, just give me a call, because I look at it every day.
It's actually Shelley's wonderful new website.
Okay.
It's right on the front, so pass it on.
And then earlier, the school nutrition presented their budget for next year, and that will be approved with all the other budgets at the last board meeting in June. I just want to say that I'm really proud of that department. They do a fantastic job, and they do a good job with their budget. They basically put it all together, show it to me. We don't have to put a lot of work into that one. They get all their information to us very well. They know what they're doing. I guess that's probably the biggest compliment you could give to them, is that they know what they're doing. And they do it very well. So with that, the budget was included in your packet, the actual summary of it by department. So if you have any questions, I'll answer them. And if you don't have any questions, I just please ask for you to approve this preliminary budget.
Revised.
The revised budget for 2018-19, and then we'll look forward to a scintillating presentation next week, next board meeting on the newest budget we're going to have, and then we'll also listen to Bob Lawrence, and he'll present the community services budget next time also.
All right, thanks, Dan. Then before we do that, can I have a motion to approve the revised 2018-2019 budget?
Second.
Moved by Sharon and seconded by Pat. Any questions for Dan or comments?
I just have one. So on revenues then, what you're saying, so basically we came in revenues at 0.3%, which is pretty amazing. I guess you should, when you look at what you originally projected and what the revised projection is.
Yeah, and although enrollment is down, there were some other increases that we were conservative on, and they came through mainly in special education, things like that. And when the budget's that big, big numbers turn into small percentages sometimes, but still, yeah, we really worry about that a lot.
Yeah,
The
that's
revenue side, because you know, if the money's not there, then you've already spent other monies. We only have so many chances to adjust our expenses. We can't adjust our expenses on the fly. Only really just the variable expenses, and that's becoming a smaller and smaller part of our budget.
So we have, so revenues within 0.3, and then you have expenditures in 1.09. So I'm wondering then, how does the projected fund balance go down by almost 17%? So we have, if you can just explain that. to me. So we have, because the revenues were really spot on, really, and the expenditures, or we were, maybe that's just what we were expecting for the projected.
Well, like, once again, the percentages are affected by the amount of the original balance. So our fund balance is under $10 million. So you can have if you look at our expenditures, they're we originally said 236 million, and they came in at 239 million. Well, that's only 1%. That's $3 million. So that $3 million, if the revenue stayed flat, that's a percent of 10 million, which is a bigger percent.
Okay.
Because of the smaller fund balance beginning.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Thanks.
All right, well, not seeing any more hearing, then all those of approving the 2018, 2019 revised budget signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Motion passes. With that, we can move into, thanks, Dan. Moving into 10.2, and that's our termination of long-term substitute contracts, teaching contracts. That'll be presented this evening by our Director of Human Resources, Kevin Witherspoon.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to seek approval of a resolution terminating of long-term substitute teaching contracts. So statute requires that we terminate teaching contracts for their long-term subs at the end of the school year. A long-term substitute, by definition, is one who worked all or part of the school year replacing a specific teacher who has returned rights to his or her position. The contracts of the long-term substitutes must be terminated. Failure to terminate these contracts would result in the district allocating 2 teachers in each affected position as the regular teacher exercised their contractual right to return from their leave. Administration recommends approval of the resolution.
Thanks, Kevin. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the termination of the long-term substitute teaching contracts.
So move.
Moved by Pat, second. Seconded by Sharon. Any comments or questions? All right. All those in favor of the approval of the termination of long-term substitute teaching contracts signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, that ends our action items this evening. We can move into 11.0, and that's our reports and comments. And tonight, our first one is 11.1, and that's our superintendent's report. Dr. Jacobus.
Thank you. I want to thank our board reps for the presentation. I really appreciate the work you did putting into it. We talked about it as we went through the school year about our board reps being involved in more than the reports as we go through, and we talked about what would you like to talk about to you as a board, but also to the public. And then Schoology was a common element, and I think it turned out really well. I appreciated the work in the surveys and the comments, so thanks so much for that. And I know that put pressure on you as well, so you had a chance to see how that feels. But thanks so much. I think it was well done. I really want to thank you for earlier this evening and how you deal with things as a board. It's so difficult, as we've seen many times with boundaries and the emotional things. And this was a very unique situation. I've been in administration 27 years, haven't gone quite through this. And I think it was unfortunate for the coach. It was unfortunate, although I was proud of our kids. That's what we cultivate, student voice, and for them to stand up and to voice their opinion. I think that was well done, but it brings out an emotion that makes it difficult. And I also feel I want to thank our administration of the school. It was tough, and I think at the time when we were doing that, it wasn't appropriate for me to jump in with what was happening, but I know these are not easy, and it wasn't easy for anyone here. So thank you. I did want to report on as we finish the school year and get ready for graduation, we're into the awards season and scholarship awards, and it's really exciting to attend those meetings. I was able to, with Mike Jansen, attend Parks, and they awarded over 50 students scholarships at that evening alone of over $300,000 in corporate and civic organizations. They had 15 students receive the Tozer Foundation Scholarship, which is a total of $11,000 for each student over the 4 years. One student received the National Dell Scholarship, which is $20,000 plus a laptop and support services throughout her college career. There were 180 seniors were invited to the program and received either an academic award, a department award, or a scholarship. Park recognized 15 senior IB diploma candidates, and as you know, that rigorous IB diploma is really difficult to finish. All sorts of kids, and most of the kids at Park are involved in IB, but to finish that diploma is always a wonderful and a really tough accomplishment. 7 summa cum laude with distinction students and 36 summa cum laude students. Woodbury's will hold their senior awards next Tuesday evening, and I should say none of the schools keep track of every scholarship. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars that we don't know about as kids report, and millions of dollars that are awarded each year. So I want you to know these aren't the only ones. These are the ones that come forward at the awards. At the event at Woodbury, they'll recognize many student recipients of local scholarships, 4 National Merit Scholarship finalists, 3 Merit Scholarship winners, and 3 3M Special Scholarships. They have invited over 200 students for recognition of academic achievement. This includes 10 students graduating summa cum laude with distinction, meaning they have a GPA of 4.3 or above. This year, Woodbury will be graduating 21 students from our Spanish immersion program, recognized at graduation with red, black, and yellow cords. Eastridge held their senior academic awards night last evening. Unfortunately, with the calendar, with the CAPE Awards, I wasn't able to attend. At the event, they recognized 9 students who were recipients of community scholarships. That included the Cottage Grove Chamber of Commerce and Cottage Grove Lions Club, Woodbury Chamber Kiwanis Club, Woodbury Chamber of Commerce, South Washington County Scholarship, the Greg Orth Memorial Scholarship, the David Nitti Scholarship, a memorial scholarship. They also had 5 students receive the Tozer Foundation Scholarship, which again provides $11,000 over 4 years. In addition, they have 13 National Merit Commended students and 5 National Merit Scholarship finalists were recognized. Eastridge also honored 2 students who have accepted Service Academy appointments and 1 student who received a Marine ROTC scholarship. There were over 200 students recognized for their academic achievement. This included 16 students graduating summa cum laude with distinction, meaning they again have a GPA of 4.3 or above. They were honored with an official school medallion that they'll wear at the upcoming graduation on June 2nd. So it's a busy and a very exciting and positive time of the year.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobus. Any questions for him?
I was just going to point out I didn't make it to Eastridge, but I made it to Park, and our wonderful Lindsey was one of those 180 students honored that evening. So I tried to wave to her, but she was very focused.
Pretty busy.
Yeah, she was very busy. So.
Awesome, thanks. Well, we'll move into our student board reports, their last one. So, and apologize that it had to be a late meeting tonight. But why don't we start with Hannah from Eastridge High School?
I gave him a book on sleep, too.
Oh, did
yeah, and so we kept him up late.
So as we move into the end of the school year, things are wrapping up. We're applying for new positions for the upcoming year and all sorts of stuff. Like seniors are finishing up their health classes and all sorts of stuff. And we get our yearbooks on the 28th, which is very exciting. So those are coming out. And then graduation is on the 2nd, as well as the senior all-night party, which is always a crowd favorite. And then we had our Key Club, or we're having our Key Club Blood Drive on May 24th, which is always a great success, especially at Eastridge, because we have so many people, especially since sports are ending, that are willing to come out and give blood and just give to their communities. And then we have our Relay for Life happening on June 7th, which is a really big event at our school because we have so many different clubs and activities and sports and just friend groups that are represented, and it's a really good cause. And we also just recently had our Spring Fling through our student council, which was very, very successful, which was awesome because it was the first time we've ever done it. I know Woodbury has it. You guys are having yours tomorrow? which is fun. I'll probably bump out there. But yeah, things are just winding down. We're getting ready for finals and it's a fun time.
Thanks. With that, Lindsey from Park High School.
All right. So I'm gonna go a little bit out of chronological order, but on May 18th we had two big things happen at Park. One was our Databits team was in their state tournament and was 1 point short of going to nationals. As well, on May 18th, it was prom, and our theme was Great Gatsby, and it was super fun. And just like meeting with a whole bunch of different administrators, they also agreed that it was one of the best proms they've had. We just recently had an orchestra concert this week, which included some members of the band. Just like Dr. Jacobus mentioned, we had our senior award ceremony on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. And then just to note, we did have over $300,000 in scholarships given to different people, but that just shows like how the community is put together with us, and just the bond that our schools and our school district has with our schools, and just every like different thing. Yesterday we hosted the employee recognition celebration for those employees who are retiring and getting ready to move on. Tonight is the park retirement celebration, and that celebrates the 3 or 4 teachers that we have retiring, as well as our principal. Tomorrow is Avid Senior Night, for kids in Avid, obviously. And then tomorrow night we have a K-pop dance as well. Like I said, I was going to go out of order, but we had a really successful multicultural fair, which included like different food trucks and everything, just a way for a whole bunch of people to get together. As well, on May 10th, we did have a Junior ROTC Awards program, which many kids were awarded. And then on May 6th through 10th, we celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week, and each day we would have like a little fun day, so like take a selfie with a teacher or give a teacher a hug or something like that, just to like show that the teachers are appreciated. And then on another note, I just want to thank all of you for the 2 years that I've got to spend with you, and I really have appreciated my time. And the girl coming in next year, even though she could not be here tonight, I know that she'll do great, and I'm just very thankful for the time that I've got to spend with all of you.
Oh, thanks, Lindsey. And then Maya from Woodbury High School.
Just like the other 2 high schools, we're in the weird period between AP testing and the end of the year where there's a bunch of coursework and projects. And so students are tackling that as well as just wrapping up the year. This week is Spring Week, so Spring Spirit Week hosted by Student Council ends with art dance tomorrow at 7 p.m. on the football field. It's 90s theme. Last year it was a tropical theme. And then as part of Spring Week today, we had a barbecue outside. We do this every year where Student Council grills burgers and hot dogs and then sets up like an eating area outside. And then there's a group of students at our school who are in a band called Absence of Marbles, so they play live music while we all eat. And so I think that's a really cool event. This week also, National Honor Society has been selling waffles at lunches for pennies for patients. So that has been a way for people to get hours at the end of the year, as well as raise money in fundraisers in classes as well, where the competition goes that if you bring a penny, you get a point for your grade, but if you bring $1, that's minus 100 points. And so people are sabotaging other grades by bringing like bills, if that makes sense. So that's been going on all this week. Seniors' last day is next week on Wednesday, May 29th. Their senior service day is the day after, the 30th, and then they have graduation practice the day after on that Friday. They graduate that Sunday, June 2nd at Aldrich Arena. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, go ahead.
I'm just curious, can you just pick something out from the 90s? Because that just seems like yesterday.
I was like 90s was just the theme of high school.
A lot of people have been struggling with this theme because it's so similar to now, if that makes sense. Like dressing up for the dance and stuff, a lot of the trends have come back. Like scrunchies and stuff, I have one on my wrist. Like, yeah. So it should just look pretty normal.
Too funny. Well, again, thanks again for all your support and all these meetings. So. And best of luck. With that, then, we're moving into our future meeting dates. 12.1, June 6th will be a regular school board meeting here at the District Service Center at 6:30. And then June 20th, another school board meeting here at the District Service Center at 6:30. And with that, we'll move into 13.0. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.